Welcome to the Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, episode 216. Here we are. I'm Dave, Dave Z, whatever you want to call me.
Dario. I love Dario Z. But Dave Z, that's who
too.
you are. And I'm Christian, everybody. How are you? Crazy Christian. Chainsaw Christian.
Yeah.
In the morning
Chainsaw Christian. Don't I wish? You know what? We could actually do it. We could, instead of having a 2.5 hour show or whatever they go on for, we could have 30-minute chunks every day and release one show a day during the work week, and that could be the the morning zoo.
The morning
only
drive.
Problem is if we're in the middle, right?
Yeah.
It'd be great. It'd be a morning zoo thing, and then it'd be hard to do because then we'd have to every 30 minutes you have to have a new intro.
Yeah, the show's just intro.
Yeah, intro after intro. Hello. Tuesday the 2nd.
Our shows now, like Jason Smith kind of called me out on it as a half a joke. He goes, "Your intros," he goes, "he gets slammed if he talks for, I guess, more than 10 minutes as an intro." And he goes, "And your shows, our intros sometimes have been 2 hours." Now, what I mean by intro is like we talk about other things, but I mean it's literally before we get to any reviews. I mean, I think people that listen to the show now know it's not just about movie reviews. We review movies,
right?
But it's not the primary thing. Yeah, exactly.
It really is to do them and to listen to them. And the proof is in the pudding with these Skeleton Crew shows we've been doing, because check those out if you haven't. Since we've come back to doing that, there hasn't really been a proper movie review yet, and people are loving it. We had a BS episode on the Skeleton Crew, in a manner of speaking. It wasn't planned that way.
What a rip-off
We've
show.
been doing some. I know, right? I said, let's rip it off. Let's do this. I said, let's do a rip-off of, what do you call it? It was something we already did here. Oh, when we ranked all the franchise for the big three in order. I said, let's do it here too. I said, who cares, So anyway, but there's been BS in topics. We did a couple things based on articles that we saw, like the top kills and this and so we've been just having these discussions, and at one point we talked about nostalgia for a while. Bottom line is there hasn't been a movie review in 3 episodes. That we did the hot 10 of the big three, which was a lot of fun. Our top 10 hottest girls from the big three franchises, and we just been doing all this stuff and having fun. And the reception has been really good. And I go, see, Alex, I said, this is what I've been telling them. I go, people don't care about movie reviews anymore. There's such a glut of podcasts now, and all they do are movie reviews. And it's just after 10 years of active podcasting, it's old hat. You got to go to the next level. And that's what I think discussions are. I think, you know what I mean? And what you were just saying about Jason, the difference is, his audience are YouTubers, the most fickle friggin' people in the world that are going to critique anything on a platform for entertainment. They just are. So it is what it is. Now, our listeners know exactly what we're doing now. And because we've taken that audience that was once so big and shrunk it down to, minimals. Okay, eventually now, they come out, but still, that's what they're used to. I feel so bad though, because people are listening now to shows, and we've got new people that have signed up on the Patreon, and thank you for that. I'm not going to name everybody, but thank you very much. But we do have some new people, and it's some of them don't know about Brandon being here in the past, or the opposite, or they hear the shows on
they do now.
The regular feed.
Now we're only a year behind. So Brandon's been gone for about 5 to 6 months. 6 months now. We're about a year behind from this episode now. That's kind of what I'm trying to keep this pace. So when one of the Patreon exclusive episodes come out, which is the new ones, an old episode gets released as well. So it's always going to be kind of that 1 year mark. 35, 36 episodes behind. I didn't mean to cut you off, but so they do know now.
That's good.
So, because I think we're up to, I don't know, episode 180 something, maybe 190 now. And he's been off since 69.
Wow. And that's kind of trippy because now
181.
Now
181. I apologize. I think 180, 181 by the time this one releases, 181 will be released, I believe.
Well, there you go. So some people were expecting Brandon, and other people don't even know that he did exist. Now they go back and listen to the old shows. Which, by the way, another piece of advice for new listeners that have just signed up. I don't know how long you intend on staying around. If it's just going to do a month trial, if it's going to be this and that to listen to certain shows, that's fine. But I would suggest, if you're into this podcast for the long haul, and we probably should say this more, start at the beginning and go up, because half of what comes out of our mouths at this point is stuff from old shows. They're regurgitated jokes. They're in jokes. Yeah, but you don't get the full
anal bleaching
experience. Anyone? Right. See? Anal bleaching. You can talk about that. You can talk about anything. We can get on that, because even talk about spookies. People don't know what the deal is with spookies. Yeah,
why does Christian have such a hate on for spookies, and why does he have Clive Barker signing Laserdisc? What the hell are Laserdiscs?
There you go. Right. He's almost as Laserdisc, VHS, and there's so many references on this show.
Just call this in jokes.
You're not going to get. Yeah, they're in jokes, and it's too bad for the people that haven't been on board, because they're not like, what's going on here? But I mean, I guess that's no different than if you put on a Howard Stern. That's probably full of in jokes, you would imagine, after all this time.
Well, the goal is that if you could jump in and enjoy, which some have, then perfect. And then otherwise, some people be like, I'm lost. I don't know what the hell these people are talking about. Perfect. Get the hell out. I mean, at the end of the day, if you like it, you stick around. And we're having fun. And I like the way we do the show now. I mean, it's just kind of like free flow. And then, sometimes we'll have guests on, like last week with Dave Parker. And sometimes it will just be us. And then Brandon's going to come back. Brandon keeps saying that he would like to pop back here and there. So eventually he'll be back in and people will be like, who's this Brandon kid again? But the true listener, the ones that have been there from the beginning, know who Brandon is. They're the ones that keep asking and wondering how he's doing, and would like to hear him back on the show.
That they do, yes.
We're weeding them out as listeners, but at
I might have messages that I keep forgetting. And another thing to the listeners, once again, I got to say this again. I'm glad I thought to do this all at once, because I always, a lot of times the shows are over, I listen back or something, and I haven't listened back in so long now. It's been crazy. But I'm like, oh man, I should have mentioned this. I should have mentioned this. I'm getting it all done now. We should do a canned thing. At the end of some podcasts, they have that thing and it's talking. Hey, actually, we used to do it on Banana Laser. If you like this, go here. And it's like it's a pre-recorded thing, and it says like the same things where you can.
Exploding Heads has been filmed in front of a live studio audience, like one of those things.
Yeah, right. Which, by the way, is great, because I've been watching, as I said last time, All in the Family, and. Francesca sees a little bit of it sometimes, and she says something about it, and she said the laugh track. I said, honey, that is not a laugh track. I go, they even say it at the end of the show. They're recorded in front of a live studio audience. I go, these are actual laughs. This is real stuff. They didn't start doing laugh tracks until, I guess, they stopped filming shows in studios. And I guess it's just a thing of the past now. And it's all, anything you see now, do laugh tracks exist? Here's the question. This day and age, on a comedy, because I don't watch any sitcoms, except I watch, what do you call it's a comedy? What We Do in the Shadows, and I love it. And there's no laugh track. There was no laugh track when I watched Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah, Modern Family. Like they've kind of gone away.
What'd you say?
Modern Family. That really super popular show that was around for about 10 years.
I know Modern Family because of how hot friggin' Sophia is. Yes. Oh, I'm going to talk about crushes later.
That didn't happen. Anyway, I'm just saying that a lot of them moved away from that. Okay. Yes. But I'm sure there's still some that have to keep it. Like, the Nick for Junior, Nick for Night. I don't know. Those ones are the WB ones.
Nick for Night.
Kids don't know when to laugh. They don't think kids will know when to laugh, so they'll pop it in. I think they still might have them, the little ship reader ones, because there's nothing funny being said, so they've got to force the laugh in.
Oh, that's what we should do if we make a movie then.
Because there's nothing funny being said.
Nothing's funny is going to be said. We'll just put in our own. This is, you're supposed to laugh here. It's like the applause button.
Yeah.
That's the
I've been
freaking
meaning to
studio.
do that for a long time. I think we did do it as a joke one episode for like 2 seconds, but it was like because or there was one that I just let it die. Like there was a joke said, whether it be me, you, or Brandon at the time, and it was just a horrible joke, and we just let the silence just sit there. It was, and we've all had those moments. It's great.
Do you remember that one time Brandon cracked a joke? It was the early days. And we happened to get quiet right after, and there were literal crickets right outside my window,
Yeah,
and it came
yeah,
up on the freaking
it was you had the window open or Brandon had the window open, and there was crickets.
right,
It was
right
awesome.
crickets.
Well, this is just the nostalgia show. This is what this gimmick is for this episode. It's nostalgia.
Right.
Hey, remember when? It will be a clip episode. Mr. Watson always loves these clip shows.
Let's do it like the Golden Girls. You
Yeah,
know,
I love them. You're 4
we'll
episodes
do a
into your
clip.
first season. You're already doing a clip show.
Yeah, that's what we did for our third episode in was the top 15 of 2015
Yeah.
or whatever. No, not actually, not back then. Back then we were just top 10. We were still,
Yeah.
and this year we might have to we might have to regress. But hold on, before I get too far off course,
Sorry. Yeah.
laugh
That's me
tracks.
doing that.
I screwed that up. No, I went into laugh tracks. I thought you said Martyrs Family, and that's why I laughed when you said Martyrs Family.
Yeah.
Now that would have been a good show.
That is. That was like
You know?
the comedy martyrs. Remember, I did that. I think again, this show doesn't exist anymore. I don't believe it was Rebecca's old show called "In the Mic of Madness." It was actually Jason Smith and Rebecca's. I'm not too sure who started it, but
Correct.
that's how like I remember listening to that, and they were talking about a PG version of Martyrs, or I don't know what happened. They said the movie would be like cut down to nothing, and then I actually did that little fan edit that was. Like the beginning of Martyrs, and it was like you can't show anything in that movie if you wanted to make it PG. It was just ridiculous. Like the doorbell rings, they open the door, and it cut to like
Right?
the I am the singing telegram from Clue, and then it just ended because you can't show anything else from that moment on. It's crazy, but the laugh track would be amazing. The Martyrs Family would be fucking hilarious
Yes,
if they just make
it would
a
be.
sitcom of
Yes.
a French extreme film.
Because there is a family there too. It makes sense. There was the mother and the father and the two kids. The Martyrs family. It could be a prequel before everything happened in that movie. I tell you. So okay, I was onto the laugh track. What the hell was I talking about? Either way, this is something. Okay, so remember when they brought out
All the
that
family
show?
in front of a live studio audience. I don't know if that will ring a bell.
Well, that
Okay.
it will. No, I got that. It was back to the laugh track. Do they still do laugh tracks? You say no. So okay. Now
Except for
here's the
the
weird thing.
little ship reader kids shows. Yeah.
Right. I was watching. Remember when they brought back Full House? They had Fuller House.
Yeah,
Because
I remember when it
where I
came
lived
back.
at the time.
I
It was
do.
like
That came on Netflix, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. It was like 2016 or something like that. Well, I decided to watch it. I said, I want to see what this Fuller whatever the hell it is, Fuller House show is. So, but the thing is, I didn't watch it sober. I would catch a buzz. I figured if I'm going to go into something like this, I'm going to go with a nice buzz on and get some laughs. So I go into it and I catch a buzz and I'm watching it, and they do a laugh track in Fuller House. And as I'm watching it, it occurred to me for the first time how ridiculous a laugh track is. And I was like, wow, for me, it stuck out like a sore thumb because I think it had been so many years since I watched something newer. Not that I watch anything newer really, but they had a laugh track. It was just like something, what the hell is this? You know?
Yeah, that might be the perfect example of something more modern that tried to instill that again. And I could see my kids being like, what the fuck is this? But they have watched some of those in the past, those old ones. But yeah, it is weird. It is weird to hear that laugh track. But here's where I was going with it. My understanding, and again, I'm not the ins and outs, and maybe back in the day it was in front of a live studio audience and that was it. But my understanding is that they would do one recording in front of a live studio audience, catch the laughs and whatever. But then they would go back and they would record it one or two more times just to make sure they got the right, if they, just like a movie, they made sure that the takes were good or whatever, any cuts and whatever, and they could edit from there. Now I'm not sure
Oh.
if that was every show or if that's just how it evolved over time. But I remember
Hmm.
I think it was Friends that mentioned it, or one of the other shows that said we would do one in front of a studio audience, but then they would just record it with nobody there.
And they would just go whatever was the best according
Yeah,
to
yeah,
the viewers.
or a combination of there. Now, whether
Right. Whatever
they
scene.
steal the laughs from the live studio audience, who knows? Most likely, but I figure there was a combination done at some point. But I don't know the ins and outs of modern sitcoms, or even I guess
No, I
old
certainly
sitcoms from.
don't. I don't. I don't know. Right. I don't watch them. That's for sure. Nothing modern, honestly, that I can think of. I don't even know what a sitcom is nowadays. What's a sitcom for nowadays?
Martyrs
Tell me
Family.
more.
Love it.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't think of a sitcom that plays now. I'm sure people are screaming about it, but I don't know what's on like regular TV because I don't really watch it.
Well, the sitcoms are What We Do
So
in the Shadows in the sense of that it's a comedy show, but like The Office is a good
right.
example, where they're all Parks and Rec, all that style, which is the
Are they still on
mockumentary
those
style.
shows?
Well, no, they're in syndication or
Yeah.
they're on reruns now, but
Right.
um, What We Do in the Shadows, of course, is there, but
Right, but
yeah,
that's on A&E or AMC or whatever that. It isn't like on. I don't consider shows like that sitcoms. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I guess maybe they are.
I don't
If you
know
want to get
what's out there for brand new sitcoms because I really don't watch
see,
cable TV anymore. Like I really don't.
see,
If I The only thing I
man, a
watch on
boy.
that is sports and or um breakfast television. And when I say sports, specifically basketball, and like not breakfast,
Hmm.
C24 or CP24, which is just like a news ticker tape type thing, and that's it.
Oh, dude, you know what they did out here? And I found out from my mother and my father because they have Spectrum, which is the cable company out here. Um, they took away freaking ESPN. So now, like people, like I think Disney has something to do with it, or Disney owns ESPN now, or something, or they're in cahoots. Whatever the hell the deal is, if you don't subscribe to like a Disney package or some other thing, like usually ESPN came with like a basic, not a basic. I don't know what it. All I know is I've been hearing out here that Spectrum you can't get ESPN anymore. It will cost like all this money, and it's finally happened. But hold on, I want to get back to what I started this on. New listeners, not just new listeners, any listeners. I have a note here, okay, and the note is if anybody has reached out to me or us or sent us something in the email or sent us a personal message on either Facebook Messenger or in the Patreon group and it has not been responded to, reach out and say something because I forget. If I don't get it like a couple days before I record or take a note when I first comes in or something, I have a sickness where many things I have a sickness mentally, but I have to clear my what you call it right away. My notifications. I don't believe in notifications, so if I get a notification like
I
an
don't
email or
believe it's like
something, as
Jesus.
soon as I see them, I I have to get them off my phone. I can't. It's like an OCD thing, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. And I'm to the point now where I'm mentally so messed up that when they come in, I have to clear them right away. And usually I remember, usually, but
Why don't you
I'm
just turn them
sure there are
off?
times. Well, I turn them off for anything except emails. I guess
Oh,
I
okay.
suppose I could, but I haven't had them in years for like social media or any stuff like that. It's only when I want to see it. I didn't think a whole lot about emails or messages from Patreon because a lot of times, sometimes that's important stuff, and I want to get to. But the problem is, I'll clear it just to clear it, and then I'll forget about it. I do the same thing with Messenger. Like if I see a whole bunch of messages on a Facebook Messenger, I'll just go on there and I'll click it just to clear off that number. And then people think I'm there to talk, or there'll be a lurker like B, like because he pulls the Mike Merriman thing, or if you see somebody their head come up because they looked at a message, he says hello, and I'm like, no, I'm not here to talk. Otherwise, I would have responded. I came on to clear. It's true.
FUB.
And I said the other day in chat, there was like 30 things deep, but I didn't have the time at that moment to go through them all, so I can't really talk. So it's like, but I'm just clearing it right now to get rid of it. but I have like group texts and group messages. Half the time, I have them on like mute. But here's the damn problem. Even when you have them on mute, you still get the notification. It just doesn't come to the forefront of your screen. So it doesn't even help for my problem. I just don't want to see those notifications. But anyway, people, reach out if you send something that you want us to read on the show or talk about or anything, and we haven't, specifically me, reach out please and say something. I'm online. I'm easy to find. So there you have it.
I don't know if
had
we
to put that out
actually
there.
we
What
went
else
on
were
this
we talking
tangent right out of the game. I don't think we even said what we're doing today, which was we picked Wes Craven.
We didn't.
But I strategically edited the last, whether it be the audio or the video version of the last episode. I strategically edited it so you wouldn't have heard that it was two separate movies that we said we don't want to do those movies. In fact, I don't even know why I chose those two movies. I think I thought we had done most of this filmography, and these were two that were blind spots. But then you said no. We may have talked about them like on 22 Shots or something
Right.
else, but we've never officially done them on our show.
I've never done them anywhere as a review, ever. And it's been so
Okay.
long since I watched one of them that I completely forgot half the movie. So it's like, yeah. So it has been a long time. I guess we just felt like it. Now, ultimately, when you go into it, when you see the titles,
Yeah,
it
you'll know what we're
wasn't
doing
that
already.
it was more. It wasn't more enthusiastic. Well, even for the first one, I'm saying for the first choices that we had for the other two movies,
Yeah.
I'm not enthusiastic for any of the four movies, either the two that we decided on or the original two that you once upon a time had as these two Cravens that we haven't done. I'm not enthusiastic to look at any of them, but the difference
I
is
agree.
these two seemed, the ones from the 80s seemed like they were at least more fun, and the other ones were a little bit drab, where at least I'm not, if they're boring, they're just boring, and if I'm not having fun with them, that sucks. These other ones from the 80s, even if they're not the greatest movie or movies, we're still going to have fun watching them because they're 80s and we're used to them. It's a different type of feel, right? You get what I'm saying there?
I get what you're saying, and just so that we're not so cryptic, the initial ones that were on the list of Craven movies were Cursed and Vampire in Brooklyn, and we were just like, even when I was reading it out, I'm like, why did I pick that? Thinking we had already done Shocker and Deadly Friend, which we've spoken about it again, whether it be one of those years, those quick years in review where a listener picked like, like whatever, 1980, whatever it would be. And we did them. I thought we had done them already. So I kept them off the list. And then when we talked, we said, well, we haven't done those two. I'm like, well, let's do those two. And I made it. I just wanted to do a joke, which I was going to save to later, but I'll do it now. But I guess I thought we should save this episode specifically for Thanksgiving. And the reason for that is because I said we've got two juicy butterball turkeys tonight. I am not going to be making friends when we hit these reviews. I don't think tonight, but awesome. My God, that's it. Good. That's what we'll leave on. But we've got Shocker and we've got Deadly Friend. Wowzer.
Yeah. Well,
wowzer.
It's gonna be something. It's gonna be, but compared to, okay, here's another question. Did I ever read those things on the podcast when we asked people, what do you want to see us do after Summer Sausage ends? And there was a whole bunch of responses.
I believe you did.
Okay.
I believe you did. And then, and some people, whether you read it or whether we just discussed it now, that's where my mind is. I'm not 100% sure. But the reason I say that is because I'm almost positive you did do it on the show. And the thought, someone mentioned, why don't you just go back and do, I don't think it was Year of the Year. That was last year, but we picked the 30 topics. We said, because we knew that we'd have some BS shows and some other things, and that we, in the year end and whatnot, and we just said, here's 30. We're going to do a random pick of what number, and what the number lands on will be what that show is for the next episode. Someone said, why don't you go back to that? You took the summer off and you did the Summer Sausage. Go back to that. And we said, well, yeah, we started the year with that. We already have the topics picked. Why not? So I guess we're going with it is we're going to do that, but we may edit it accordingly if we find Cursed and Vampire in Brooklyn, not inherently necessarily Vampire in Brooklyn, at least, is not inherently a horrible film from what I remember. I just was not interested in going back to see either movie.
I agree. I've never even seen Cursed, and I still wasn't enthusiastic about it. So, hey, okay, quick question. Wes
Yep.
Craven, because I've only seen it once, and I bought the movie years ago and watched it and actually didn't hate it. Uh, My Soul to Take, slasher or not?
Yeah, I guess it's a slasher no differently than Nightmare on Elm
Okay,
Street would be a slasher. But once again, I bought
okay,
that dirt cheap. I have it on Blu-ray, and I bought it like
me
real
too.
cheap, like $3 or something like that. It was amazing. It was
Right,
awesome. And I tried
years
watching
ago.
that again. Another fucking howler, man. Like when Wes Craven hits, and we could, like, I'm being very honest here. And again, not everybody might even agree because even when I watched Hills Have Eyes, again, I thought, "Ooh, this is dated, but not in a necessarily good way." But I still enjoyed it enough. But you got Last House, Hills Have Eyes, Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream, and then arguable for Serpent in the Rainbow for some. They like it. I think you and I didn't. We thought it just. Uh, I liked that more when I was young. Funny enough, and I get no. Well, actually, I got to say that about all the movies we're talking about tonight, or the other movies we're talking about tonight. Young, not so much of a problem. Remember,
Right.
again, I'm going to be on a repeat again tonight, folks. It's me. You should know that by now. Um, Wes Craven, I held in a very high regard. Like you'd have like he'd be one of my favorite directors growing up. I looked forward to his things and I was accepting of his things. My 15-year-old self, 16-year-old self had him on the top at the top, and I ripped him off. Like even when I made my little movies, I could see little glimmers of shocker or things at the time, and so I'm not like there was a love there at some point. I don't know what happened,
Mm-hmm.
but these I now have to look at them with different eyes. And nostalgia's still fine. I still like Maximum Overdrive, even though I know that movie's stupid as shit. Like, and it really is. Let's be honest. But I mean, I still watch it for entertainment value. And yet, I'm not going to see these movies. They're not boring, but
Right.
they're turkeys. Like there's, and I'll back that statement up later when we actually talk about the films. That'll just be my teaser, and my soul to take in my long-winded way to get back to what you're saying. I think will fall into that as well. And even when he
Okay.
was on
Well,
track,
darn
even with
it.
A New Nightmare that I loved, it went into turkey zone a little bit. He can't help himself sometimes. He has to go down this route, and it even edged into screams a bit as well, just a little bit with some of the overtopness in the sequels. But
See,
we've done
and I
Scream
can't
already. So
find my list. I can't find my list. I know that we did a list where we talked about 10 directors, our 10 favorite directors. And now I'm looking now and I'm trying to see where I put it. And so
I thought you died out on me for a second there.
no, I'm muted for a second. So I don't know where the hell that list is. That sucks. Where did I put that?
Well,
That either way, I wanted to see where I end up putting Craven. But with Craven, this is the thing. Because I hold the Scream 4 movie in such high regard, in my mind, like the last movie he did was another good movie. And I'm looking at, you know, the first two big ones, Last House in Hills, and then Nightmare, which I just love more and more and more. And then we're looking at Scream, and then no matter what you feel about Scream 2 and 3, okay. And then I really like Scream 4. So I take a look at those and I'm like, okay, that's a good solid like 4 to 5 movies. And then we have some bad ones, but how is that necessarily different than like Hooper or Romero?
I think Toby Hooper definitely has some stinkers in there as well. And there will be someone that always loves these. We get it out there. This is my opinion
Sure.
and whatnot. But the Mangler is a good example. That's only one example. He definitely fell into like for such a high caliber director out of the gate. And when you start with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's difficult to like that movie is there. But I mean
Right.
he manages to
Right.
have a handful of other great movies that that I watch and love. But you're right. You're right. But it's like when it's like Craven's on even Carpenter, who is universally loved and
Okay.
made one of my favorite movies, The Thing. Uh, I mean, but again, it's like okay, The
Okay.
Ward. It's like a misfire. Ghosts of Mars is really the one that I'm like, oh, I just don't know what
A
he was
lot of
thinking there.
people,
But people
right?
like that. There are people that do like it and defend it. So
Some do, some
yeah,
do, but it's like, okay, this is the thing about Carpenter. Carpenter gets the boost because of the non-horror stuff, pretty much for the most part having hits in it and being good movies. Not all of them, but because he has that non-horror side to him, he's held in higher regard because a lot of that stuff is good too. But if you strictly look at the horror movies, let's cast everything else aside, okay, and let's just talk about Carpenter for horror. You know what I mean? And then you have okay, Assault on Precinct 13, not really horror, but whatever. What do you want to call it? And then you got Halloween, of course, and you got The Fog. You had that run. You got Christine,
like there
and
was a run. Craven really didn't have a run.
then you
He,
got
now
Prince of
again,
Darkness, and
I
right.
know we're leaving some out, and I'm sorry for Dave for. I'm just saying. I know before people go crazy, like you
No,
didn't talk about Deadly Blessing or Summer of Fear or whatever. Well, Deadly Blessing to me
okay,
was actually kind of boring, personally. But I have to rewatch it. I'm just going by last watch. Um, but and he would rip off from himself too. If I recall correctly, Deadly Blessing had almost a shot for shot scene in a bathtub, but instead of a Freddy glove coming out of it, there was a snake that came out of it. Correct?
right, right.
I'm,
I
I'm
haven't
going by
seen it.
memory.
I've
I
only
think
heard this.
okay,
I've heard it. Never watched it.
yeah. So he knew something worked there, and he repackaged it more effectively, in my opinion, for Nightmare on Elm Street. I love Nightmare on Elm Street. Like I love it, and even that has faults. We've talked about it, like that 20-minute booby trap, booby trap.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Uh,
Oh boy.
booty trap. It's all good. Anyway, because you said you figured it out because you had subtitles on that he says booty trap, and then they correct him and say booby trap, and then he says that's what I said, booby trap. You
Yeah, I
even said
guess.
it
Well, I
on the
guess.
last
Okay.
episode, or not the last
There you
episode,
go.
but the I think the one that just went out, like 180 or whatever,
Okay.
in that
See, and I
round, in
forgot
that
that I figured
range.
it out. See, my mind's fried. I forgot that I figured that out. In my mind,
But
I still didn't get the joke, but there you go.
so
No, I
again, you can argue there's always these things that's a little bit more forgiving. That's movie timing. I mean, I just watched Cloak and Dagger
yeah, that's
again.
okay.
I got the 4K of Cloak and Dagger, and if that 1 hour time frame for the final act doesn't, it makes me antsy, which is what the movie wants you to. What's the reaction the movie wants? So I guess it works, but I'm
Hmm.
also frustrated because I'm like, this timeline is just too quick. Just add another half hour, and then instead of 2 minutes, add 5 minutes, and then everything would just breathe a little bit better, and I'd feel better about how the ending plays out. But I mean, that's just my problem because I've loved that movie. I love that movie so much because I put that above ET. And people think I'm crazy. I love ET. ET's a great movie, but Cloak
Oh
and
my
if I had to
god,
pick
yes.
one to watch, Cloak and Dagger is the one I'm putting on. No
I've
questions
never even
asked.
seen it. Never even seen Cloak and
Wow.
Dagger, so it just
Can't
sounded
believe
boring
it.
to me, like Spy versus Spy or some shit, some mystery. I don't know, some freak.
Cloak and
I picture
Dagger
like a freaking
sounded
guy
boring.
holding up
That
his.
sounded
Yeah,
amazing,
yeah.
Cloak and
I just
Dagger.
I well, okay. Now, when I think of Cloak and Dagger, I think of like those freaking noir movies from the freaking whatever. In my mind, the 30s. I don't know when they were made, but these black and white movies, and a guy like holding up like his freaking uh his coat over his eyes and like walking. I don't know. I picture like a freaking like a spy
Well,
versus
there's a little
spy,
bit of that
like
in
a
there.
mystery. That's just what I picture. Cloak and Dagger, just some like random noir type freaking mystery film in black and white or something. I just does nothing to the title does nothing for me. So I don't even know what it is, to be honest. Cloak and Dagger.
Well, the
I know
only
you
reason I
liked it.
bring that up and compare it to ET is because that was Henry Thomas's follow up to ET. He was in a picture deal there, and then that was is going to be
Oh.
his next movie. And it didn't do very well. It died swiftly at the box office, but it kind of gained a cult following thereafter. The reason I can't believe you haven't seen it is it has your precious Dabney Coleman in it, like who you seem to love,
Oh,
and he's a
you
main
know
character
what?
in the movie.
I think I did see this movie on HBO
Yeah,
randomly, like in the 80s.
that's
So,
where it got a
but I
hit.
never
That's where it
watched
became
it
a hit. Yeah.
like Christmas Story. And I
Uh oh. Shit. You froze on me. Oh, you're back.
and you froze on me because every time I freeze, you freeze on me. That means I froze on you. I
And
know.
I could tell something was going on because I've been talking over you more than usual. Meaning I've been talking over you where there must be a little bit of a slowdown. So I
Yeah, it
apologize.
happens.
I talk over
No,
you
it's
anyway.
nobody's.
That's the show.
So
I've been
be
doing
it.
that for
So be
years.
it. As long as I can remember my thought when I have time to come back to it, that's all that matters. Again, I got to go back to my first thought before Cloak and Dagger. But make sure people call if we haven't. There was something else I was going to get. Okay, the directors, they've all had turkeys. They all have. Like seriously. So Craven, maybe so, but Craven also has some really big ones. You know, so it's. But then again, so does Hooper and so does Carpenter. So
Yeah, I mean,
tough.
you're
It's
right.
tough.
Everybody, you could probably say this about every director, De Palma, Hitchcock, they've all had turkeys in their filmography. Now Hitchcock's filmography is huge, but they've
Boy, is
all
it.
had turkeys. It's the ratio.
Mm-hmm.
The ratio is what I think what I mean is a question here, and the ratio of good to bad for Craven. Like I mean Hills Have Eyes 2,
Oh,
Turkey. Sorry, JP,
yep.
Turkey.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, I've Deadly
Agreed.
Friend and Shocker, turkeys. Serpent and Rainbow is not a turkey, but this guy, I feel bad for Craven because two things. He can never seem to escape out of nightmares, whether that's I think he says that
Well,
there's meddling and people made him put him in. And we'll get to these movies specifically, but I'm talking
New
in
Nightmare
general.
too. Don't forget New Nightmare. That's a pretty big hit.
Yeah, well, I liked it. But remember
Right.
that went from being right on par with the first, in my opinion. Like I thought, wow, two boom boom, to every time I watch it now, it gets whittled down a little bit more. It's still like a seven,
Fine.
7.5. But I mean, I'm
Right.
just saying,
Fair.
I still like it, and it's just that last act goes into the everything that was wrong with the sequels in a sense, like of when Freddy's face has to grow and I could eat you all up or all that garbage. So
Yeah.
that's the stuff that I'm talking about. I'm not a fan of. However, like like there's like My Soul to Take is a perfect example.
Right.
It's batshit crazy. It's way overlong for its own good, and some people absolutely love it. But I could say, unfortunately, I think it falls into that turkey zone again for Craven.
Sure. I liked it when I saw it the one time. I said it was decent.
Same
I just
with
haven't
me.
been in a hurry.
Same with me.
But honestly, I would rather watch that than have to watch Cursed, and I don't know why. And I haven't seen Cursed. But when I saw My Soul to Take, My Whole to Take, I was okay with it. I was like, oh, this
Here's
is
another one.
surprisingly not bad. Maybe I'm just a sucker for teen slashers that come off a certain way and they don't bother me. And most of
Yeah.
them don't. I don't know what it is about me, but a lot of people look at slashers, like modern ones, and with modern, like, kids in it, I'm going to call them, but like something like Bodies, 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 or something like, just like these movies that come out. A lot of times I hear people complaining that they can't stand the kids, they can't stand the characters. And I don't get that. Yes, there are some annoying characters, but I don't think that the entire generation of Generation Z and whoever's closest to it are annoying. I just don't. There are some things about it that's a little frustrating, but I mean, you're always going to have that, and it's kind of a frustrating time if you want to break things down to some behaviors and the causes for them. But I don't have that mentality. And I feel bad for people that do, although I'm in the minority, but it's like, I feel bad for the people that feel like such adults that kids annoy them. I I could never feel that way. The only time kids bother me at all is if I'm at the movie theater and there, there's too much noise being made or this or that. But that's because of the times I choose to go. It happens to me so infrequently that nothing really ever. I remember the last time I had a problem. It wasn't even a modern movie. It was when they played Friday the 13th someplace, and I was there watching it, and it was something like that. But I mean, aside from that, and I remember
Like with
saying
the
something to
audience?
some kids. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
The
I had to
audience.
say
But I
something
mean,
to. I don't know if I told the story. I had to say something to kids for the first time in ages for when I saw Talk to Me. They were talking audibly. We were further up. They were at the very back. Theater was like three-quarters full, and they were talking throughout all the trailers. And I'm like, okay, I'll give the trailers a
yeah,
bit of a
right,
break because they're commercials in the big picture. I would
right.
rather no talking at that point, but the show started, in my opinion. But okay, I'll let that go. As long, do you think it continued into the movie, the beginning of the movie, and they were making really bad jokes that didn't make any sense? I got up out of my seat because I was going to get up during the trailers, and my wife's like, "Hold on," and my daughter's like, "Hold on, wait a second." I'm like, "Okay." And then they started in the movie. I got right up. They didn't even stop me. I got right up, walked right up. I couldn't see a thing. It was like pitch black. And again, if I told this, I apologize, everybody. And I just looked
No.
down at what I thought was them, and I'm like, stop it. Just stop it. Like a parent talking to a dog or someone else. And they're just like that. And then the audience, you can hear, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then they're like, oh, I was going to say something, thank you. As I was coming down to my seats, I'm like, thank God. But no one did. And then they made one more peep. And someone said, shut the fuck up, like from the back. And so then there was nothing for the rest of the movie. Just nothing. I don't know what
Nice.
these kids' problems were, but it was like, I don't know if they had, I go, why are you at the movies then? If you have attention deficit disorder or you can't shut up, even if you have Tourette's, don't go to the movie. It's not the,
Oh, no, you
like,
can't say that these
yeah,
days. Are
well,
you kidding me? You're
I could
discriminating.
say it. I
Don't
could say
say
it, and
it,
you know what
but
their response would
watch
be?
out.
Fuck shit, pest, fuck shit. No, I'm just kidding.
Right on.
The only people that don't find that funny are people with Tourette's.
Even if I had
It's a
Tourette's, I'd
bad
find it
joke.
funny.
Yeah.
What do I care?
Fuck me,
You
fuck
can
me.
make fun of me
You're
all.
like Linda Blair in The Exorcist. Fuck me, fuck me. Fuck Jesus.
Man, oh man,
That
dude.
was a
Here's the
bad
funny
joke.
thing.
See, there's a bad joke that I made on the show before. And it was a groaner and it was crickets. I wish that the audio died down. You could hear crickets outside. Where I said that everybody thought she was possessed by a demon, but I found out she just had Tourette's. That was
Oh,
the bad
right,
joke
right.
when we did the review, and it fell flat then too. But like in traditional fashion, it just keeps coming back. But yeah, it was the first time I had
Hey,
to tell people in my grown feel like in a long ass time. That hasn't happened in ages. But it's the reason why I don't like going to the theater anymore. I do not want to be put in that situation. I don't want a distraction. I'm very selfish. I want that movie for me, and I
well,
want
but
nobody to bother me or ruin that experience for me. I don't think that's selfish. I think that's the movie going experience. The downfall is there's assholes out there. And I'll stop
it's a
talking.
lot worse.
Sorry.
No, it's a lot worse now because of primarily cell phones and smartphones, I should say, that causes problems. But the people talking, yes, and it has gotten worse since we were kids. But if we were kids and we went to a movies on a Friday night and we're going to see whatever horror movie it is, I gotta say that there was probably some talking going on. I mean, I don't know. I want to focus on the movie, but I'm thinking back to just childhood and just being kids, and I think that's just what people do. So I don't sweat them for it. But here's what I do. You have to be smart when you choose to go to the movies. I only go to the movies for the matinee on a Saturday or a Sunday, the first show they give you, because there's not kids there. It's the quietest time and it's a discount, 30% off when you go. So if you go to the movies at those times with a family,
Like the
you're
gray
not going
hair.
to, who the F is going to
Blue
go
hair.
to a movies on a Friday or a Saturday night? What's the matter with you? That's
Yeah,
not your
that was
time.
my own
That's like
fault.
an adult going to a nightclub. Like that's the equivalent of you and
True.
taking your
I
family.
guess you're right.
You don't
Yeah.
want to go to a nightclub. You want to go to maybe a bar with a few friends, have a few drinks, and it's a quiet scene. You're not looking to go to a club. So don't go to places where that are like it's the same. Now it's not exactly the same, but you have to realize that the quotient, who's going to be there? It's going to be a lot of kids
no one
on
else was like
dates
that,
and
though.
parties and
Two fucking people. Two people. The rest of the audience was fine.
okay.
I guess
So
they took the title of the movie literally. I go, no, it's called Talk to Me, but shut the fuck up.
and back to that, the fact that you went over there and you said stop, just stop. Now I'm glad you did that.
Stop it.
Because
Just
you got the
stop it.
well, you got the ball rolling. Because you got the ball rolling, other people are eager. They're not afraid anymore. They're not hesitant to jump out and say, shut the fuck up, and other things they said. See, it takes one person to do that. But you do realize that probably to this day, the kids that you talk to, you are going to become a joke you're going to be a punchline for the rest of their life. They're going to say, remember that guy? And they're probably using you as an example.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Stop it.
I'm going to be like the chicken. Stop it. Stop that. Stop that.
Yeah, right. So you have become a punchline. You become a
my whole life's a fucking punchline. It's fine.
Adult, a lame adult punchline is what you've become. I hope I never.
I was a hero to everybody else. That's what I remember, Dave.
I appreciate what you did because you got the ball rolling. I agree. I wouldn't have done it that way.
I'm not talking about, I've talked in movies, in the movie theater and made jokes and was loud and whatever before the movie started. But when, back in the day, we didn't have fucking commercials. Like I'm talking about like, we didn't have Ram truck commercials to lead us in. It was like the lights went down, the preview started, and that's when, and I was respectful for it. The only thing I would say is like, oh my God, that looks awesome. I want to go see it at the end of the trailer. Or that looks like that looks horrible. End of story. To the person beside me, whatever. I didn't have to announce it to the audience or whatever. And that was it. I'm not saying that there isn't a time and place for that. Premieres seem to be very vocal. And if your movie is a stinker, that audience is going to let you know. And that is fun in a whole different realm. Like I went to some of those. They try to respect the film, but like I went to Battlefield Earth, the one with Carrie used to get these tickets all the time when we were first dating and whatever. The one with, my God, Grease, John Travolta. And it was just that Scientology kind of one that was done, and it was science fiction, whatever. People were howling in that, talking back to the screen, and it was amazing. It was a totally different experience for all the wrong reasons. But I mean, I'm sure there were people that were pissed off that if you're into the movie. Sure, but that one was fun. Now I wasn't participating necessarily, but I definitely laughing at the reaction this movie was getting because it was like the movies tonight, a turkey. But I try my damnest to be respectful for it. The last time this happened was when I went to see The Witch, but the kids did shut up when the movie officially sort of kicked into gear, so there was no need to say stop it, just stop it to them.
Oh, Maron. I guess either I've been lucky or I just picked the right times. A lot of times with premieres, like on a Thursday night, people aren't there. Like it's a Thursday night premiere, like 9:00. Some people are there, but it's never as popular as it's going to be the next night or the next 2 days for opening weekend. Unless it's like a blockbuster. I mean, if it's like a Marvel movie, I'm not going there anyway. But I'm saying, like, let's say Talk to Me. When that one came out, if I would have gone to the Thursday premiere or something, I'm not expecting it to be too busy. They're just usually not. And that's one of the cool things to do if you can do it. But of course, Thursday evenings and stuff, if you got to work in the morning.
Well, I mean, I get what you're saying, and I kind of agree with it. That's like going to a nightclub, but it shouldn't be like that. You should just be able to go to a movie when you want to go to the movie. And I shouldn't have to have that. But I'm torn. I'm torn because you're right. I mean, that's the key kid demographic time.
This is just the world we live in, and you have to either go with it or rebel against it. But you can't even rebel against it because there's not enough of a movement no one's going to join you. It doesn't matter. It's like anything else that we've talked about or had a gripe about. Just like I would like to be able to say something that isn't offensive, but other people are going to consider it offensive, so I can't even say it. Same thing. I wish we lived in a world, just like I wish we lived in a world where you can go to the movies, and I agree it shouldn't be a problem, but it just is what it is. You just have to roll with it. There's nothing you can do. You just got to go. I just don't like it. It's like everything's been preordained from birth. Like people are trained to do this, this, and this, and this. And then when you reach this age, you're supposed to become freaking impatient and crotchety and not like young people. That's never going to happen to me. To me, that is how you age. That's how you get old. And I say it all the time. The first day you get old is the first day you start saying, I'm too old to do something. You're never going to see me say that. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to go every freaking thing I can, if need be. If I were down with anal, either way, I'm doing it. If I was down with it as a youngster, I'm down with it now. But the thing is, I'm not going to change anything until my body physically tells me I can't. I'm still going to go and do it. I do shit all the time. And then sometimes my body tells me later, well, this is what happened. But I'm also the guy that got COVID and freaking still raged for 2 straight days for fish shows after I had COVID. I was sick but when it came time to go to the fish show, boom, I was there. I wasn't at home nursing, crying, boom, I was there, man. I medicated up. I said, I'm not letting this stop my shit. I'm not doing it. It's like anything. I go to a freaking mosh pit. I would go to a freaking concert right now at a small place in Buffalo if they had it to see an old hardcore band, and I would get right in the pit with the freaking kids. I don't care. And now if my body the next day, if I was in such bad shape that I couldn't get out of bed, then again, it's just one day. That's the difference. I don't care about doing.
I have no interest to do that anymore. I did it. I don't think it's because it's just my priorities change. I don't have that. Right. I'm like, power to them. I remember doing that, but I have no interest to go back in there. Maybe it is. I'm old, but whatever. I just don't have that interest. But a lot of things, like even like when you go to an amusement park, I'm like the worst person to go to an amusement park for. Rides are fine. No, rides are fine, but where I'm going with it is I'll do it once. I don't need to do it 3-4 times over again. One time, I'm done. I'm good. I experienced it. Depends. I had fun doing it. I don't need to do it 5 more times, like I said. And there are people that you go with it. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. The only time I did that is when we were on a work trip and we were on the other side of the world, essentially. And I was on a roller coaster that I knew I'd never probably be on again. So then I'm like, yep, gotta do it. We're at Ferrari World in Abu Dhabi, and I was on the world's fastest roller coaster, I guess at the time, because I don't know that's 10 years ago. And it was, you can Google it, and it's at Ferrari World there. And because we were in the middle of nowhere at this resort, amusement park resort dedicated to Ferrari, and it was this roller coaster. I did it 4 times. And that still wasn't enough for the other people. They did it 2 more times. I'm not taking anything away from them. I'm just saying that usually I'm like, well, I did it. It was fun. Loved it. Great. Let's go. Now, the difference is I watch a movie how many times over again? And some people are like, oh, I watched it once. It's fine. I'm done with the movie. I don't need to see it. And not that I don't need to see it again. They just have no interest because they'll just watch something else. They don't go back to movies the way you and I would, or a lot of our listeners would, where we go back. Like I watch Cloak and Dagger. I've seen Cloak and Dagger probably 4 times more than I've seen E.T. at the very least.
Oh,
like
wow!
Yeah, maybe even more than that. Like E.T. I've seen maybe
so many times.
I've maybe seen it 6 times in my life.
What?
Yeah,
wow,
maybe.
Dude.
Yeah.
Wow. I've seen it probably so many times.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable thing. I like the movie a lot. It's Steven Spielberg. Loved it. Had good magic and everything like that. And I remember seeing it as a kid and getting a lump in my throat and being sad
awesome.
and whatever. But I mean, when I actually have to add it all up, it's probably 6 times that I've seen that movie. Whereas Cloak and Dagger, it's probably even more because I watched it a ton as a kid. Like that was on repeat. Almost like when it went from The Wizard of Oz to Cloak and Dagger. For some reason, those are the ones I remember being on repeat as a kid.
Wow. Isn't that something? Wow, I forgot. Man, I don't know. When I go on rides, I get nauseous nowadays, but this has been happening since my 20s. It's an equilibrium thing. It's some sinuses. So it isn't necessarily...
Early 20s for me. Sorry for... exactly the same thing. I get... like almost vertigo.
I can't do anything that spins. I could do coasters still because I've always loved coasters and I'll always do until my body tells me I can't. If that means I have to take a Dramamine for motion sickness before I go to the park, I do, just to be
Yeah.
careful.
Okay.
But I mean, nowadays I'm at the point I don't really have to go on too many rides. Frankie doesn't like him anymore. She used to love him, and now I don't know, she doesn't like heights anymore. Thank goodness, because I can't stand them. And ever since she came around, she always was about Ferris wheels, and now she doesn't like them anymore. So I'm like, nice. So it's
Wow.
like, I'm not. But when I think about going to Disney, if I'm at Disney for 3 days, which you tend to do, at least a day if you're in there. But I'm going to go
Mhm.
on the Haunted Mansion at least 5 times. That's something I could go on again and again.
Okay,
And I
so
will.
there
That's
is
different.
so wait, yeah, there's a little like asterisk there. Disney, although they do have somewhat of thrill rides now, like they always had Space Mountain, and then they've got the
Yeah,
Aerosmith
yeah.
one, and they got Mount Everest now there. Those are kind of like the thrill ride ones, and there's a handful of other ones, but most
I
of them
like them all.
are family, they're more thematic, and that is what elevates it to a different level where
Correct.
absolutely I could go do it. And if I could get right back in line again, because there are times where you can do that at Disney. Sometimes it's a one and done, you just have no choice, or you're waiting in line for an hour. But if you could go and do it again, which we have done it, oh, that's a totally different thing. I've gone and done Winnie the Pooh when the kids were young 4 times in a row because we could do it, and it was for the kids at the time. We did that with Peter Pan or whatever it may be. And but if yeah,
Hmm.
in Disney, absolutely, I agree with you. So I'm just saying
Okay.
that when it's a roller coaster, um, for whatever reason, like maybe I've done it twice in a row. Ghoster Coaster was the last time. It's a roller coaster that was themed after like Scooby Doo at Canada's Wonderland here. That's
Oh,
probably
of
the last
course.
one because
Right.
Christian, when he became able to go on coasters, that was the first one he could do. He loved it, and I think I went on it 6 times in a row. But again, all of that, if you listen to the story, was for more for my kids than even for me. And he couldn't go by
I get
himself,
it.
so then I've done it.
Right.
But I mean, typically, if I choose to, I'd be like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Did it. It was fun. Had a great time doing it. I don't want to take away from anybody else's fun. If you're, if no one wants to go by themselves, I'll go on again. But if you're good, have fun at it. I'll be waiting, and I'm not bored. I don't want to take away from anybody's fun, but I don't need to be constantly doing it.
If I can afford to do it, like mentally and everything else, my body and it's happy with, and I could go on, and I'm all about excess. I love excess when it comes to everything. So if I can do it, I'm gonna do it more if I'm up to it. If other people want to, but Disney's different, of course. I agree. As far as watching movies more than once, you know where we stand on that. And some people don't like to do it, which
No.
I'll never understand because to me it's the same as listening to an album. If you can listen to the freaking, the Grateful Dead Europe 72 album, 50, 60 times in your life, why can't you watch a movie 50, 60 times in your life? Yes, I agree. Yes, I know that movies are a little longer than listening to an album, but if something is so great that you want to listen to it over and over again, like I do with albums, you know what I mean? Why wouldn't I? It's the same thing with movies for me. And some TV shows. Of course, TV shows I tend not to do. And like, I don't just pick up, I can do it with The Sopranos, but it isn't really my idea to say, okay, let's watch season 4, episode 5 of The Sopranos randomly. It's not what I do. If I'm going to watch a show,
Yeah, you're gonna
I
do it.
watch it in order at this point because, well, we have the luxury that we can do it. We live in a time where we can do it. And I can't even, I mean, now I'm watching What We Do in the Shadows, and there was a little gap between like the last couple episodes. But normally I like to be able, and I guess I'm spoiled now, but I like to have them all available before I watch them. Like most things that are binge worthy, which is, I understand it's a creation by the freaking people that make money off us. So we will go join Netflix and we'll join the streaming platforms, and it's a selling point. I get it. But I have become spoiled in that respect where, like, for example, this new Star Wars thing, right? And I want to see it because of who's in it. But it's like, I want to wait until all the episodes are out there and then watch them. I don't want to do the one a week thing because it's become so such a foreign concept at this point. And I hate to sound like a spoiled freaking person,
I like it,
but
but yeah,
that's
Netflix was the one that ruined that for everybody. I like that Apple TV and Disney are thinking of they'll give you one or two to start with, and then they make you wait weekly. I like that. I hate it at the time when I'm doing it,
it's
but
okay.
I like it because it makes me. You're talking about reminisce. Tell everybody about how it used to be when they just binge watched their Friends, Seinfeld, or whatever. I'm like, we didn't have that luxury. It was like one you waited, and then you watch another one. And then when into the syndication, then you couldn't, it was always on. It seemed like you could find a channel that The Simpsons on, Friends, Seinfeld, whatever. It was always just sort of in repeat.
But the difference
But
is Friends and Seinfeld and stuff like that, sitcoms weren't like a serial show. They weren't like an episodic show in the respect where one thing is continuing to another one exactly. Like a
yes,
Breaking Bad or a Sopranos or a dramatic show where
for sure, for
okay,
sure.
so it kind of makes sense. It's like watching mini movies in a way. It's like, okay, here it is. We're just going to give it to you in parts. So if something is like that, then we've become desensitized or spoiled to the fact that we've had these shows. So now it's like it would be tough for me to go back. Plus, I'm an idiot. And if I go 2-3 weeks without seeing it, my wife has to catch me up on the last episodes we're watching. I'm like, oh, again, that was so long ago, I'll say. Meanwhile, it's been 3 weeks. But it's like, but it doesn't stay in my mind. Like, I'll have to, even like, I'll tell you what, like when Stranger Things finally does show up, every time I have to pretend the first couple episodes I know what's going on because I don't. I just go into it and I settle into it. But it would be much wiser for me to watch the prior season right up into the freaking thing to remember everything. Same thing with Cobra Kai and shit like that. Now with those shows, I enjoy that we get to wait. I just talked about this on Skeleton Crew. The difference, why Star Wars isn't special anymore. And other things aren't special anymore because we used to have to wait 3 years for it. That's why I don't mind waiting for Cobra Kai and Stranger Things. Now, once it begins, I want to binge it, but I don't mind the wait of 2 or 3 years in between the seasons because it's more anticipation. I'm like, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Like with it and when it too, we had to wait for it. And I think that's fun. And I like waiting for shit. Star Wars has gotten so freaking exploded since Disney, and there's so many shows and everything else, and it's gotten to the point of where ever since the Trekkies, ever since the Star Wars fans started acting like Trekkies, everything's changed. Because it was never like that when we were kids. Every kid loved Star Wars, and that was it. Now everyone that loves Star Wars that are adults, not everyone, but a lot of them are into it the way we're into horror movies, which is fine. But the thing is, I love Star Wars movies probably more than everybody because I actually love episodes 1 through 9, and most people do not. Do not. Most people complain
Mhm.
about either the sequels or the prequels, and they bitch about this and that. So I almost feel like I'm a bigger Star Wars fan because I love 1 through 9, all of them, and the shows that I have watched for the most part have been fine. But I'm not obsessed about Star Wars. You're not going to walk into my house and down here, it's not going to be Star Wars all over the place. You know what I mean? But a lot of people have taken on that. They become Trekkies. Star Wars people have become Trekkies. And there was a difference when we were kids. To me, the Trekkies were kind of like they took it too far. You know
It's
what I
true.
mean? I'm just straight
Yeah.
shooting,
No,
right?
I agree. I was never a Star
Okay,
Trek to me was always boring. I was like, yeah, that's
right.
boring. Whether it be the movies or the show, no interest,
Fair, fair.
really.
And Star Wars now was different. But now the Star Wars fans, and again, it's probably because of social media. Not probably. It is. It's because of the internet period where everything, the fandom of everything is very obsessive and everybody, and I get it, everybody likes to be a part of something bigger. It's like being in a group, a cult, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Cult is a bad word to use, but I'm saying it's like it's belonging to a group. And I get that because I belong to groups myself. There's the horror people, there's the fish crowd, and so it's just, and the fish thing is a whole different thing.
The
That's
fish
nothing but
crowd.
positivity. Well, that's the greatest people in the world to be around. And that's what I'm saying. The way I view them, that's like the only place I feel safe. Like those are my people. You get me around a bunch of fish fans, I am completely in a relaxed state of mind, and I have nothing. I love strangers. Like literally, I'm like, you could see people, you high five. Everybody's so excited and happy. Or I'd like to say that about the horror crowd, but unfortunately, that's not as we can see online. And yes, there are fish fans that bitch the same way that there's horror fans that bitch, but it's just different. There has been such a divide amongst the horror fans, mostly because of politics and the internet and everything else. And that does come up in fish boards, believe it or not. But 85% of the people just don't want to be bothered with it. There's always going to be some of that quotient there. So it's going to be there. But in horror, it's like everybody's got an opinion and it's just overbearing. And I get it, but
Well, everybody has opinion. And the problem is we
yeah.
don't necessarily want to hear it. That's what we've said on time and time again. Again, it has nothing to do with do you agree with me, because
Right.
it's how you present your opinion. Someone might think I'm abrasive and not want to hear it. So be it. And vice versa. The ones that we've got people like Dave Parker. He's admitted he's not blown away by modern horror. He says he loves Hereditary and whatever. And he's put some up, but he says rated them high, but he says they'll never sort of make them on this list because of what he holds true to nostalgia. But the way he presents it, he doesn't shit on anybody that loves modern horror like we do. We've said we love modern horror. I love the 80s too. I love the 70s. I like the 90s. I don't necessarily hate any decade, although we may talk in extremes on the show, which we've done. There's still merit to certain years. The 90s do seem to be the one, although I could still pick a chunk of films out of there that have the least amount. I do like the 2000s. I like the 2010s, as we've said, and you've said time and time again that you think it's the best decade in horror. But
Right
that's the difference. He won't shit on someone's opinion for that. He might talk in extremes as well, but at the end of the day, he doesn't give a shit. I'm speaking for him, but if he was on the show, I think he'd be like, exactly. And Dave, pipe up. You will. I know you will, as in Dave Parker in this case. And that's the difference. Some people just come across so fucking abrasive. Right. You're just like, well, I don't even want to, like, your opinion means nothing to me then. Like, I dismiss it. You've been erased from anything that I want to partake in, essentially.
Well,
and maybe that's an elitist attitude, but so be it. It just, that's what it brings out of me is that
they're being it.
Yeah.
They're being the elitists by dealing in freaking absolutes. When they're saying something like, okay, like, see, there's a difference, like Parker. Yeah, especially this year, he's really not into it, and just in general, not overwhelmed with modern horror. However, he's not the type that goes on there and says, "Man, can somebody suggest a decent movie from the last 10 years? Everything sucks and everything's great." You see these people; they only want to see 80s movies and everything else, and they're like, everything sucks. And I'm like, well, what are you watching? And they'll talk about, well, I saw The Conjuring, and I mean, if you don't like supernatural horror, fine. But these are people that are only watching what comes to the box office and have no recollection. They have no recollection. They have no awareness of all this independent horror. How can you belong to horror groups and not know about all these movies? I don't know. But then they see a couple artsy movies that they don't like a Babadook or It Follows or whatever they want to call artsy, and say, I hate this stuff. But then think that that's all there is to offer is quote unquote elevated horror and the BS at the box office, which isn't all BS. I'm just saying some people don't like it, and that's fine. Yeah. They want to be critical of jump scares, and that don't even get me started. But it's like, so, but he isn't one of them like that. That's what I'm saying. He doesn't go online and just say, "Wow, this, and this." We know about it when he talks to us, but he doesn't like make a. That's the difference. He's not one of those assholes that comes out and wants to condemn everything else. But I mean, I have my attitudes. I'm gonna.
As do I.
For example,
as do I. But
something happens in a movie, one of these Craven movies, and I'm watching it. And I said, "This is silly." But if this would have been an Italian or an Asian movie, people wouldn't care one bit. They would celebrate it. And I do think there is a bias that goes the other way. If it was made in the 70s, and if it was made out of market, foreign to North America, it's almost like those things get these automatic passes that other stuff that from the 80s doesn't, or whatever. And
Well,
I think that there's a double standard there, but that's a whole other story.
I've heard you say it, and I can't disagree with you that if Fulci directed Shocker, that there might be a whole new love for that movie or something to that effect. I get it. There's got to be a little bit more of a thumbprint on
Right.
it, but that kind of gets to the area that you're going. And the one thing I will say about both movies that we're doing tonight is that you can find reviews that will give this 4 or 5 stars or 0 to 1 star for both movies.
And you know what? That has a lot to do with the director, I think. I think
Well,
when you have a big
and you
name
think if
director, you're more prone to get shit on and to get undue praise. I think that there's fanboys that go in both directions. They go, well, if I don't
you
like
might be right.
Craven as much, I'm going to shit on it more. Well, look at it. We've seen this so many times. It's the difference between expectations and reality. Like people always say, what's the worst horror movie you ever saw? And they'll say something that isn't even close. That's really actually a decent movie, or to some people, a great movie, but they say it's the worst horror movie they ever saw, knowing damn well
The
they're just
Exorcist.
saying that
People say that
because
just
it's
to,
popular, or someone does say Exorcist. I mean,
yeah,
come on. I mean,
yeah.
for you to say that, that's a bias because it's a big name and because you didn't get it. And I don't when I say didn't get it, I don't mean that in a pompous way. I'm just saying you watched the movie and it didn't do it for you. Okay, that's fine. To say that it's the worst, it undoes so. Those movies get extra. They get critiqued harder than a movie that just comes and goes. That's just an average movie, like a freaking, I don't know. I can't even think. I was looking at my shelf, and I was just gonna say a movie that came and went. There was nothing special, like freaking I don't know. I can't even do it. But
Well,
you know
because
what
the
I'm
ones that
getting.
come to your mind are the ones that had some sort of elevated exposure, like It Follows, The Babadook. Those ones have extremes as well, but it's because they
Right.
came out. But I think I know what you're going. Like just some,
Okay, Stigmata. Stigmata's
yeah,
a movie, decent movie. Some people like it, some people love it, some people think it's terrible. It's just a movie. But you can't tell me that you think that The Exorcist, you've seen Stigmata and you think Exorcist is a worse movie than that. That doesn't compute. You're just doing it to be extreme. And people do the same thing with directors, with Wes Craven, because there's a name attached to it. If Deadly Friend was directed by somebody else, some unknown guy or whatever, it wouldn't have as much praise or as much criticism on it. I don't think
well,
it's because there's the
but
light
that
shown on
is
it.
part of his. Like I mean, he did that. This is what happens when you become popular and whatever. And you
Yeah,
have Wes Craven's Shocker or whatever it may be, or New Nightmare. Definitely, his name's above it. But the reality is that this is your next product, and so you can't avoid it. But I think where you're talking about sometimes is like the people that maybe were later fans because they grew up with Scream, and so now they are interested. At least they have the interest to go check out the earlier filmography, and they might
right.
defend it because it's Craven or whatnot. I mean, maybe I don't know if I'm articulating what you're saying or if that's
No, I
exactly what you're
get
saying
it.
there
It
too. But
doesn't make sense though, because we're not blowing Sean Cunningham. We grew up on Friday
no,
the 13th. That was a big impact on us. We
we
don't
in
think that
fact he's
Sean
a kind of a
Cunningham.
shitty director. To be honest, he just happened to strike your favorite saying or one of your I say your favorite saying, you've said it like once on the show, lightning in a bottle. He just happened to they ripped off Halloween and they did it great, in my opinion, because there are people that don't like the first Friday the 13th either. But he is kind of a shoddy director. Check out Spring Break. I dare people to watch Spring Break, which was probably a Porky's ripoff, but the movie just sits there. There's no flow of that movie. Like I think
Right.
he even knew he was a better producer than he was director, and he started sort of offloading it to other people so that he would like House. He didn't direct. He got Steve Miner to direct. Who, like, although I've shit on Steve Miner more because I thought he was always trying to shit on the Friday the 13th movies. I couldn't be further from the truth that he had a better visual eye, and he was able to take things to the next level. And it was definitely a more successful director than Sean Cunningham. But
Yeah.
Cunningham was we said he was a business guy. He was a business guy, and he struck gold with Friday. But you're right. I went on a tangent there, but yes, it's a good example. Like Like no one can say he's a great director. No
That's what I'm
one.
saying. Friday fans don't elevate him.
I
And I'm
don't think
not
he
saying
would
that
say he was
Wes
a great director.
Craven Wes Craven is a great director for the most. I'll give him props. So I understand why someone that screw up with Scream would automatically anoint him number one. I just I don't know. I think there are biases that do form, and maybe if Sean Cunningham directed 2 or 3 more decent horror films, maybe some Friday fanboys would herald him. But I mean, I look at Steve Miner's work, and he did 2, he did 3, and he did a couple other movies I like. Didn't he do H2O, and he did something else that was
He
decent too?
did
So I'm like,
H2O. He did Warlock. He did a House. He did Soul Man.
right, okay, but still for horror house, that's a good one. So I
Yeah,
mean, we're not elevating Steve Miner because he did 4 decent movies.
because
You know what I mean?
Steve Miner, it's almost like a director for hire. Like, I mean, he was
Yeah.
serviceable. He did his thing. And Craven, like, here's where I'm going to take some shit, was kind of like the same. Like, he got put in with the Carpenters and everything, and the Romeros and everything else because he had some. But I think it's just some good luck. The way that the budget limitations and guerrilla style filmmaking, for lack of a better term, worked in its favor for Last House on the Left. There's still some problems I have with that film as well, as we talked about when we reviewed that. Hills of Eyes, that was more of just an aging thing. I still think it's a solid enough film, a cool idea. And Nightmare on Elm Street, he'd been shopping that around, but it's like a mixed mash of ideas and recycled bits that he elevated. It's the idea there, the idea more than the directing, I think, that elevates that movie.
Well, it's
And this is
yeah.
where I'm going. Like I think he lucked out. I no, I don't. He was on my top. Like he was one of my tops as a kid. And when I have to pull out the hits, they are fucking great hits. There. I will watch these films again. But the reality is that I do think that he's not in the same league as a Carpenter or De Palma or so like Ari Aster or whatever. I think he just lucked out a lot of these, but
Well,
lucked out is one
he has
film. So maybe I'm
longevity.
wrong. Maybe I'm wrong in my argument here because he lucked out numerous times. But he got
Well,
up to bat enough on, I think, the premise of like Nightmare on Elm Street was a great movie. The series made a lot of money. That gave him more credibility as well. And then Shocker was his attempt to reestablish that, and it didn't work. Um, and then he had a lot of misses there. Serpent and Rainbow maybe standing out as more of the above average in the middle there, and then Scream came at the right time.
People Under the Stairs, people like. Not
New Nightmare
everybody. I
Scream.
wasn't a
I
huge
like
fan.
People Under the Stairs too. I actually, but I can see somebody not liking that as well. But I actually do like that one.
You know, this is what it is. He had longevity. He had a big movie in every decade. Not a lot of directors can say that. He had something in the 70s with Last House and Hills Have Eyes, love him or not. He had Nightmare in the 80s. He had
Yep.
Scream in the 90s. And, well, I don't know when Scream 4 came out. I don't remember. But,
I
I mean, I
I
liked
guess
it a
the
lot.
influence
But
he
that's
had,
just me.
I can't take away the influence he had because of what Nightmare did and the sequels. Whether you hate the sequels or not, it created that icon. He created the icon, and that just carried it over. What again? The merit of the quality of the sequels, notwithstanding, I'm just talking about that as a series. You can't take that away. And he did it again with Scream. So who am I to say?
Yeah.
The guy had two
Well,
successful fucking franchises. One that's just as successful now that it was way back when. Like Scream. If the new life that these last two have had is catapulted it again. And again, you can't forget Wes Craven started that. Well, Kevin Williamson started it. Wes Craven landed the director's role. But
but something is to be said because New Nightmare was doing a meta type approach before Scream. Luckily for that, because it's almost like, okay, Wes Craven, you could just say, well, he just happened to get lucky and direct this type of thing and the approach that Scream had. But Wes Craven had already kind of done that a little bit prior to that. So that kind of like almost like cements it as, okay, he's responsible too for what they're doing here.
and maybe
So,
where I'm going with it in my long-winded way before people just shit on me and say, you can't believe, but it's that he had no, his style seemed to be no style. So I guess it's just a more pedestrian, for lack of a better term, way of presenting the movie. There's no oomph. Like, especially with the two we're watching today, which, like, Deadly Friend, I'm going to be shooting my load before we even get to these movies, looks like a TV movie for all intents and purposes. There was no real oomph to a Wes Craven film, really. Whereas, like, Carpenter had a visual style, De Palma had a
Yeah.
visual style. That's what elevated them. They actually directed the films, and I'm not saying he didn't direct them, he directed them, but they're just, it was a different style. It just didn't, it's, that's where I guess the categorization falls in. He's had hits and he's had success, but I don't know if he was necessarily the best director. But again, who am I to say? I'm just a guy on a podcast talking about him. Back in the day, I told you I have a movie where I named one character Wes, one character Craven. I've ripped off like the body hopping stuff in my own little way in my movies. Like, I put him on a pedestal when I was young. This has just evolved over time. I just kind of was like, as you latch onto things, I go back to all of those movies just like you do. And I go back and I'm like, wow, this has a great visual sense. And Carpenter was ahead of his time. I'd say the last episode, I'll keep saying it again and over again, is the thing looks fantastic. It looks like it could have been made last year. And his style always seems to be a product of the time.
True.
But
no, you're right.
that,
No, I
that's
feel
it.
you. Well,
and again,
so does
I hate to
Carpenter.
shit him. The guy's gone, and R.I.P. And I know he's had influence. I know people love him. I'm just saying that, like, and I'm not trying to take that away from anybody. I'm just giving you my sort of take on it now, as in how I feel. But that,
No, hey man, I respect it. I know what you're saying, and what he did in this decade is after Nightmare on Elm Street. I just think he probably got a lot of offers and just kind of cranked a couple things out, and then he unsuccessfully tried to launch another character like a Freddy. But we'll get to those particular movies. What else do we want to talk about here?
well,
There
you
was
just wanted to
something else.
confirm if there's anything that we missed in talking to anybody off the top.
Well,
And
here's what we said. Do we talk about Paul Naschy werewolf movies and Fango letters? And can you do a breakdown of the movie Possession? Did these get some J horror going?
you talked about all of this. You listed
We did.
everything that people want us to talk about off. Yes.
So my memory is just okay. I wasn't 100% sure. Oh yeah, because Dave's top 50 crushes, which I do have.
Yeah.
I figured a way.
Oh, you're going to do
50
10.
down.
And we didn't do it last episode. That's what we did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at this. My eye. Got that, like, that's like a movie technique.
Oh, there you go.
And the blown out look.
The blowout comb. I found a way to cheat on the freaking list because I had so many women on this list that I actually, and it came out perfect because I did a little shortcut. If two women had the same first name, I put them as the same number. For example, if let's say I liked Jane Doe, Jane Levy, and Jane Jetson are on my list, and then they all come as one. They're sitting there at number 26. Those three Janes.
Oh, that's how you cheated. So you've got what? You got 150 women on this thing then?
Here's the funny thing. The funny thing is I didn't even plan on that, but I had 56, 57, and I just couldn't cut it down. And here I was. And then I realized when I'm looking at it, I go, wait a minute. We have two of these. I go, this is what I can do. I can shuffle this. And now everybody's freaking, I don't have to leave anybody out of it.
So how are you starting it? Like from 50 to 41? Yeah, is that what you're going to?
Yeah. And nothing's really in order. The top 5 were because they were the first top 5 because they're always in there off the top of my. I'm going to actually reorganize it later to make it more true to the freaking thing. But I could read them now. I could read. Let me see here. Let's go here. Yeah, let's see. Let me start. Okay, so this is so funny. So ultimately there's 50. There's 50 entries. And some of these are probably going to be surprising. You should do one. I'm curious to know how you feel about females and who are your crushes. And
how I feel about females. I hate them. No.
Could you make a list of 50 crushes?
I don't think so.
You're not sick like me, where you're obsessed with freaking. You're always
No, and then the
horny.
research part of it, I would feel like I'm sick because I'd be like, what am I doing here? They got to come to me naturally, I think. But I'm sure I could come up with some. I'm
Yeah,
sure I can
all
come
you
up
got
with
to do
some.
is look around, see what
Yeah.
movies you have, and think about it. Most of them are going to come off the top of your head, at least probably 20. And then
Yeah.
look at the movies you got and everything else, or records, and you know what I'm saying. There's
Yeah.
no
I mean,
porn
obviously,
stars.
there's tons of hot actresses out there.
Oh
But
boy,
I think I do it like I don't know if talent would have to play into it as well, or if it's just
no,
because they're good to
it's
look
just
at.
crushes. You can
Nah,
crush on people for
nah.
different reasons.
Yeah.
Well, that's different. These are your crushes. Do you think that Diane Keaton is hotter than Bernadette Peters because she's a better actress?
Who's Bernadette
Let's.
Peters?
She was an actress in the 70s. I don't know. I'm just saying these are off the top of my
Bernadette
head.
Peters. Anyway, okay, shoot me your list. Give me some
You don't
give
know
me
who
some
Bernadette
inspiration.
Peters is?
Not off the
Wait a
top of
minute.
my head, no.
Hold on a second here. Bernadette Peters. Hold on. Okay, you saw, what do you call it? You saw The Jerk, right?
Yeah, like a long time ago.
Well, she was the love interest in The Jerk, who became his wife and everything, She's known as The Jerk, Pennies from Heaven, Anastasia, High Desert, American Dot, Tick Tick. And why did I pick Bernadette Peters? I don't know.
My point exactly, but that's fine.
Yeah, I don't
Bernadette
know.
Peters.
Right. Yeah, it's Diane Keaton. Why did they come off the top of my head? But that's what I'm saying. You don't think somebody's more attractive because they're a better actress, right? Or do you?
It might play into it.
Oh,
I mean, you had a little talent behind the looks, then why not? I mean, there's
suppose.
pretty. I mean, pretty is pretty. Don't get me wrong. That can make the list too. But then you had like, you know, like Elizabeth Berkley. Yeah, she was pretty, but I mean, would she make the list? No, probably not.
Well, because you don't think that that she's one of the top 50 most attractive females, which is really what you're.
I wouldn't know until I don't know why I picked her. I don't know why that name. Just like your Bernadette, Bernadette. What is it? Right. Richards, Peters,
Richards,
Peter North.
Okay,
he'll be on my list.
I'm gonna name some here now. Okay, no order at this point, but this is what. So number 50 is Kendra Wilkinson. You know who she is?
No.
Okay, she was a Playboy, a bunny. She was a playmate. She the first time I ever saw her was she was on. It was a celebrity show on VH1, and they went to the Playboy Mansion, and she was there, and there was a challenge. It was either Flavor of Love or I Live in New York or one of those things. Maybe it was The Surreal Life. Either way, they went to the Playboy Mansion, and at the time, she was considered one of Hugh's girlfriends and whatever, and I thought that she was just stunning and blonde girl, just extremely pretty. And then after she kind of took that and propelled a little bit. She started having a show. I think she had her own show for a bit because she was hooked up with a football player named Hank Baskett, and they ended up having I want to say they had a reality show for a short time together. I don't know how long it lasted, but Kendra, look her up. Kendra Wilkinson is just amazing. I know you know who this one is. Leah Remini. Always thought that she was
Kings of Queens.
Yeah, man. Like I never watched the King of Queens, like a full episode, but if somebody flipping the channels and I saw it there, I would watch it, and the whole time I'm just looking at her. I couldn't care less about the plot of the thing. I was just it was the Leah Remini show.
She's interesting too because she got into Scientology and she got herself out. So she's a big naysayer about it too. So it's always interesting if you look at documentaries on that. She's usually there talking about like her experience in it.
And the craziness attracts me more because when I think of religions and things like that and people being too devout, I think that they're crazy. So that kind of adds to it.
So I think we got some Manson girls coming up later, guys.
I didn't put them on there, but I would have. But then again, at the time they were too young, I think. But I always thought that what's her name, Patricia Krenwinkel was just very pretty. The Manson girls. You know what I mean? Because no, seriously, you never look at the pictures. You know, when they got busted, and they were all coming in there singing and doing their thing, right?
I've seen them. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, yeah. Yes, I have.
Did I say Patricia Krenwinkel? I meant Leslie Van Houten. I apologize. What am I?
I wouldn't have
about?
known. You could have said any. You could have said Bernadette Peters, and I would have been
There
like,
was
yeah, yeah, the Manson girls.
no. Well, there's a picture of her. Look, when she was young. See her?
Yeah,
Yeah, she's pretty.
there. That was
How old was she at the time? I don't know. I better be careful. So yeah. So yeah, I do
We're
like the
going to do
crazy
this
thing.
the creeper segment of Exploding Heads.
I know. Right. Number 47. No, 49, 40. No, 50.
Got a four-way tie
48.
with Jenna's.
No ties yet. I don't think there's going to be any ties in the first 10. Actually, it just worked out that way. So Ornella Muti. Do you know who she is?
No.
Okay. I was first introduced to her as Ming's daughter in the Flash Gordon movie. But you've seen that one, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, you
That's
know,
a cool
she's an
flick.
Italian actress. Before that, she was in a lot of Italian movies and other stuff. And but really, my first exposure to her was Princess Aura. Watch Flash Gordon and tell me that she is just not. She couldn't stop traffic. She is ridiculously attractive in that movie. And then when I started seeing other pictures of her when she was younger in the Italian movies and other stuff, I'm like, wow, look at this one. So that's her. 50, 49, 40. If it's 47, okay, Left Eye, Lisa Lopez. And you know, need I say more? Just incredible. Just and what a loss.
Who's Lisa Lopez?
Left Eye.
Who's left?
Oh
She
my
had one
gosh. Hold on here.
eye. Someone came in her right eye. Was she a porn star? Who's Lisa Lopez?
Oh my God. Just stop. Let me just show you a picture of her.
I have no clue who that is.
You never heard of freaking TLC?
Oh,
Chili,
yeah.
Left Eye, and freaking T-Boz?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't know their
that's
names.
Left
No.
Eye.
TLC is all I
Wow.
knew.
Oh, well, Left Eye was just my
Is it rainbows?
Lord.
That there? Rainbows?
Don't go chasing
Don't
waterfalls.
go chase. Oh, waterfalls.
Rainbows.
Don't go chasing rainbows either.
Don't go chasing rainbows.
There's no pot of gold. Trust me, I've tried.
I know, right? Right. So anyway, Left Eye. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, I'll stick it into music here. I'll stay in the next one is Victoria, aka Posh Spice from the Spice
I know
Girls.
who that is.
Oh my gosh.
Funny enough, I know it's posh.
Man, oh man, oh man. Always posh since they started. Just
Yep, agreed.
Incredible.
Agreed in that regard, in the sense of like that's the one that stood out, and one of the only ones that seems to have done anything other than the other one that was on America's Got Talent or whatever. That was a spicy rack or whatever her name is.
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
The other one that's on that show. Those are the only two that seem to still be somewhat in the limelight.
Well, I know she's married to what's his name? David Beckham.
Yeah,
If they're still married, I don't know, but she's
I
like,
assume so, but
almost like-
I don't know for sure.
oh my gosh, just amazing. Okay.
Don't
this
go
one you're
chasing.
dicks and balls.
That too, girls.
So
Oh, boys.
the next one you're well aware of, and it might surprise you, but Sherry Moon Zombie.
Doesn't surprise me.
Incredible. Ever since I saw her as Baby in House of a Thousand Corpses, that character, her playing it, and she reminded me of a girl that I used to hook up with in real life, and she was crazy too. And that's kind of what started it. But of course, she's also beautiful, and I love seeing her on my screen. You know, especially in the earlier days. But you know, then she started doing more.
You never hear
roles.
that. Everybody's like, "Stop putting her in the movies, zombie. Stop it." I'm with you.
I want to see her.
She's super attractive. Yeah, she's
Yeah, man. So, yeah, I want to see her. So 50, 49, 48, 47, 46. Okay. I think that means I got 4 more, right? Okay. This is one of my actually, the next 2 are my earliest crushes that I could think of. So we're going way back in time. The first
Mom.
one is Brooke Shields. No,
Yeah,
Brooke Shields. When I was a kid,
Blue Lagoon.
and you have to remember, yes, Blue Lagoon, which is perverted to think of it now because she's only 16 in it. But at the time,
You were
you know,
younger or the same age. One of the two.
right. I'm 19. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's 1980. I probably saw it when I was 10, 11, 12 on freaking on cable.
Same
And
with
she
me.
obviously,
Yeah.
if she was 16 in 1980, I was 8. So she's 8 years older than me. So yeah, to look back at it now and say, oh my God, she's hot. She was only 16, so don't do that. But for me, who came up with her, and even when she was in her 20s and I was in my teens, she was just it for a long time. I started with the Blue Lagoon, and it was just a strong thing that I carried around for a while. It was a big time crush. So there, that's her. And then the next one, I don't know who came first. I want to say she might
Probably
have.
you in
I
your
don't know.
pillow.
Oh, that's right. My girl, Olivia Newton-John, who,
Olivia Newton-John.
oh my gosh, just to see her in freaking Grease, I always feel so bad for her. She's so pretty. And I saw her in concert. It was the first concert I ever went to, was Olivia Newton-John. Don't know what the year was, but it was the height of her. I was a kid, and I was just struck right then and there with her. And that crush lasted a lifetime, honestly. It was always, I was pretty sad when she passed,
It's so
Yeah.
funny, not that she passed. It's so funny that you mentioned Brooke Shields and Olivia Newton-John, because I spoke about this movie either last episode or the episode before, called Freaked,
Uh-huh.
that Alex Winter directed. It's one of my favorite comedies, and Brooke Shields is in it as a secondary role. And that's the reason I said Olivia Newton-John, because they do this to introduce the freaks to everybody. They're all in like Hollywood Squares type things. And one wormy guy gets asked a question. It's like, who starred in Exorcist 2, The Heretic? He's like, Olivia Newton-John.
Weird.
And yeah, and that's why I thought that was funny and why I had to tell that stupid story. But there, boom, bam.
But yeah, I love her. And that song Magic is one of my favorite songs, period. And it just takes me back. I had that 45 record when I was a kid, and I used to listen to it, and it's just, I don't know. But yeah, I always thought she was something. That video for Physical, oh my gosh.
Let's get physical.
Which, by the way,
right.
watch that video now. Did you realize that's comedy, and at the end, all the guys hook up with each other and they ignore her?
Oh no, I haven't seen that video in ages, to be honest.
Watch it. For something that came out in 1982, and I want to say that was, I don't know, that's just my guess, Physical, but yeah, watch that. Watch it. It's funny because at the end, all the guys are gay. It's funny. What a strange decision they made at that time to do that. 1981, the album came out, October 13th, 1981. So yeah, I was right. 1982 is probably when the video came out. Okay. Physical is the 11th studio album by Olivia Newton-John. How about that? It was her 11th album in 1981. That's crazy.
And when did Grease 2 come out? Same time?
Grease
80,
2?
81?
A couple years later, yeah. Well, no, when did Grease 1 come out? Late 70s?
Yeah, 78 or 79. I can't remember.
I want to say Grease 2 came out more closer to mid. No, 82. You're right. Yeah. That's when I used to watch the hell out of it. And Michelle Pfeiffer in that movie. While we're talking, But yeah, Olivia Newton-John. Okay, the next one, I absolutely love her for many reasons. I guess this is number 42. When she first came out, I thought she was just incredibly stunning. And over time, I fall in love with her basically for what she says in her music and everything, and I relate to her so much, and I just have a soft spot for her, so I had to keep her on the list. It's Fiona Apple. So I love the girl. I've always loved her. When she first came out too, I just thought she was just something else, man. And I still think she's something else. I just think that, back then part of it was just how she looked, but as time has gone on, it's just how I appreciate her as a singer-songwriter and a talent. But either way, I could not have her on there, so I put her there. And the last one here, number 41, it's another old school crush from the 90s, but it still holds true, and it was a pretty strong one. Alicia Silverstone.
Yep, that's a good one. from
Yeah,
that.
remember when she first came? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
wasn't it an Aerosmith video? And then
The Aerosmith videos and the freak, yes, man. Yeah, and then
and
she
then of
made that
course
movie, The
Clueless
Crush,
and The Crush. Yeah.
and then Clueless. Yeah. So, and I'll always have a soft spot for her. So there you go. That's my first 10. Did they surprise you at all?
No, I mean there. This is more, I think, in line with more along the lines of how I would do it because it would be from movies, obviously, or TV. That would be probably where most of mine came from. I admittedly like, although there are attractive porn stars, I don't know if I would always gravitate towards that because it'd be like, I was more ingrained in movies and television, of course. So I'm sure some of them would pop up, but this would be more
Oh, for sure.
how my list would probably play out.
Nice. And it's fun to do. I'm glad somebody asked, and I said, okay, I'll
It's
just
fun
do.
to do.
I'll 10 a time. It's fun to
There's a
see
fucking
your,
thesis going on. It's hottest 50 hottest chicks in my mindset.
Well, I'm a list junkie. I love making lists for anything. That's the problem, and I really do. Which takes us to the slasher thing. I have, and
My
you
God.
don't know this. I have been adding it in my notepad like I do everything. But last night I finally began making a list on Letterboxd, and I'm only like
Like an ultimate
whatever
list of slashers?
7 movies into it. Well, basically, the list is called You're the Slasher Part 2, and of course,
I love that.
and it says the
It's
list
awesome.
name is Year of the Slasher 2 Watch List. And then I put something in there which basically says, see, why can't I? Okay, save. Okay, this is what it says. Oops. These are movies that I'm going to attempt to watch for our episode 250 show. The rules are no franchise movies when the series goes over 3 movies total, and we are including foreign slashers to North America for this show. Now, there's something else I should put in there too. There are more movies. I don't want anyone to look at this and say, well, these are all the slashers you came up with. No, there's obviously, I'm not going to put how
It's
how long it would
impossible.
take me to
It's
put every
impossible.
slasher.
Yeah.
Right. But I still did a lot of homework to it, and I'm adding to it because I saved all the slashers I watched for the first show. I have a list of all the ones. Go ahead.
Did you add the ones that the 2 that Kuno recommended from
I don't know
Denmark?
the titles again. I got to go back, but I will. Hold on. What are those
Okay.
titles? They might be on here anyway, but let's see. What are those 2?
I've got to go back. Sorry, I got to go back and
because I did a lot of searching for foreign ones. I went to different things, and so let's see, what are his called?
Yeah, his
Final
were,
Hour and Backstabbed.
Yep.
Yeah, that's weird. See, I don't have them. I couldn't find them like
weird,
on a list of anything. And I couldn't find them on, well, because I went to Letterboxd, and there's some people that have a list of foreign slashers. So I thought they'd be there. So I know there's even more.
There's some gray area that we sort of started with Parker last episode, but we kind of think this is where the poll will come into play, like Pieces, New York Ripper. I put 10 to Midnight on there, but you've got even Gary Miller texted me quickly. He's like, I never even thought of it as a slasher film because he loves just Charles Bronson in the movie. But I still think, it's a guy that runs around naked. Maybe it's a serial killer movie. Maybe it isn't a slasher film. But I put it on my list. I don't know if I doubt it's going to be on my top 50, but I'm just saying it's on that list. But I think we might have to do some polls because you have some people that say Pieces is a giallo and some people that say it's a slasher.
Well, then do what you want. There doesn't have to be a master list for everybody, just like last time.
That's what I
Dressed
said.
to Kill, and I didn't consider it a slasher. I considered a giallo, and you considered it a slasher. You made your list and not mine as a result. But it's like everybody has to do their own thing. Well, that's why this is my list. Go ahead.
Would you consider Pearl a slasher?
No.
But X yes.
Slasher.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Pearl, no. You're next because it's on a lot of slasher lists.
I know it is, but it doesn't feel like a slasher to me. It feels like a home invasion movie to me.
I hear you. Bay of Blood. Now, is Bay of Blood a giallo or is Bay of Blood early slasher like Torso?
It's both. No, to me, Torso was the first official slasher from any country. Based on things that I've read, the parameters that I've decided to come up with, and the reason for. See, the problem with Bay of Blood is there's something to be done for financial gain. Financial gain to me disqualifies it as a slasher. A slasher isn't killing for financial gain. That goes against what I consider slashers to be. The revenge
Okay.
for wrongdoing, or they're just crazed or what have you, but it's never been about financial gain.
I might have to put that one to a vote because yeah, you're right. When you argue it that way, I'm in agreement. Random acts of violence
I don't remember that movie.
came out a
I have to
couple
look
years
that up.
ago that I really liked. I really like this one. Not a lot of people do, it seems, but I really, it was one of the standouts of the year for me. Uh, but it's the one where it's like the comic book writer, him, his girlfriend, and two friends go and
Oh,
they go
I
go
remember
after.
now. And he ends up being the kid of somebody and
Yeah,
everything else.
yeah.
Did I consider that a slasher? Here's why I say no, because luckily we had that show that we did when we talked about the 90s slashers and we talked about the 2010 slashers and up. Okay. And I still have that list of the movies that we put on that thing. So it was very easy for me to just copy and paste those. And so I
Nice.
copy and pasted those. And then I copy and pasted everything that I watched for the first year of the slasher. And then some of the movies that you've watched. And then I looked at other stuff. Luckily, I took a note for Year of the Slasher the first time for every movie I watched and every rating on it. So anything that I have of a rating below 6 is not going on this list, because for me personally, I know it's not going to make the list. Anything with a 6 or
Okay.
higher from the last time, I'm putting on this particular, because this is my list. Yes, it's Year of the Slasher too, and I'm going to share it with people, but it's like a disclaimer. This is what I'm going to watch. And also, if I think if something does not have a chance at all to make the list, I'm not putting it there. I'm not going to put Terror at 10 Killer, and I'm not going to put Doom
I'm watching it
Asylum.
again. I am going to watch Jared Tenkiller again
Maybe
and
I'll watch
Shadows Run
that one.
Black and Fatal Pulse because these are all the ones that, because I did do Final Exam and Madman, and I still think neither of them are going to, well, I know no, neither of them are going to make my list just based on what I've already watched that I like better and heavy hitters that I still haven't watched. But then there was other ones that came up last episode, like Rituals, Fade to Black, Christmas Evil. Um, we kind of said
No,
no.
no,
Disease
no.
Mine,
For me,
Nightmare was another one,
I say no. But other people might say yes, and that's fine.
and then there was Bloody Birthday, Mother's Day, The First Power, uh, Alice Sweet Alice, Evil Dead Trap has come up as a
Okay,
foreign
I
slasher
added
in a
it.
lot.
I
Yeah,
put that on there. I'm going to watch it again because I'll watch it anyway, and then I'll make up my mind. It's been a minute. So I'll watch that.
and there's a part
Mother's
two
Day
to
is a
that I
no.
agree as well.
What else did you say? You said Mother's
And then
Day.
the
I didn't go
last
to that.
Mother's Day, The First Power, Bloody Birthday,
Okay, Bloody Birthday, no. First Power, I'm gonna have to watch because I haven't seen it since the '90s, so I can't tell you.
and I can't really
So
either. And then The Hitcher, which I know you don't like, but would you consider
definitely
that?
not.
Peeping Tom and American Psycho.
Definitely not. Okay, none of them to me are slashers. See, to me, a slasher, I know a slasher when I watch it. It's something I feel, and you should
Yeah.
too. Being
I would have
coming up
never
on it.
think
Do they
American Psycho was, but some people put
right?
it on the list.
I don't care. Let them do what they want. But again, people love to force everything into the slasher subgenre.
I
They
agree.
just do. Just like they like to force everything into the horror genre that has, I hate to say these words, but if it's horror adjacent or has horror elements, they automatically force it in. And I don't think, and I'm not trying to be a gatekeeper, this is just for me. There's enough good horror out there that I don't need to put those in. That's how I look at it. Just give me a day. Like nowadays, that's the biggest problem with 2023 is that every freaking thing, everything I look at, every time I look at a new movie, I go on Letterboxd or IMDb, everybody calls it thriller. It's a thriller first with this. And it's not because people don't want to face up that it's a horror movie, but people just say it a lot. All these movies that keep coming out, I'm like, well, if it's on the fence and half the people are calling it thriller, why do I need to do that? Shouldn't I be in 2023 at a place by now where I can identify a horror movie when I see one? Why do we have to do this?
Well,
So,
I'm up
I'm
to
not doing it.
30. I think I've watched 37 already.
Slashers?
37 slashers, and the last the last few have been Graduation Day, The Dorm That Dripped Blood, and Night School. Night School is actually very interesting. Rewatching Night
Yeah.
School, it always gets put into the slasher realm. And again, I'm going to keep it there, but tell me it's not a giallo when you
It's
watch it.
it's
It's
just
an
as much
American
giallo.
giallo. Yeah. It's just as it's a cop going after them. It's crazy, but and the killings are spread out. It's more giallo than, but it because it's American made and came out in the slasher craze, it
And
gets grouped
marketed.
in. It gets grouped in, but like I mean, if you this one and you don't do Dress to Kill, I think both of them are giallo, to be honest.
Well, then if maybe you're right, and maybe
But you
I
you got to watch it again anyway, just to
again.
maybe help out and judge for yourself. Um, Dorm the Drip Blood, I bought this and Graduation Day as well recently
Mhm.
because I hadn't had them in my collection. Graduation Day, the best it's ever looked. It's a vinegar syndrome one from a few years back, and
Right
you
on.
know that movie. I like that movie. I do
Me
like
too.
that movie. I rated it higher than probably ever before, but it's still not great, but it's a good slasher. Um,
Right.
Dormant Drip Blood. I rated that one high the last time. It's actually quite boring. It has a great
Some
kill in
people
it.
have said
It's got
that.
a
Yeah.
great kill, and I love the ending. But it's quite boring, and the acting's a little. I mean, it was made for $90,000. I mean, it came out of nowhere, and I give it some credit. There's some atmosphere there and whatnot. But it's only as good as the last time you watched it. Last time I enjoyed it.
There
This
you go,
time I
man.
was like, I like it, but I don't love it. It's kind of like in that 6.5 range, 6.5 range. And I give it
Which
that
could be good
because,
enough. Who knows?
which could be good enough, but I'm feeling most of them are going to be over 7 or above.
I hope we have that many, including the foreigns, which, by the way, I did add them. Final Hour and what's the other one? Backstabbed. Now, here's the thing. When you look at Backstab, because I've been adding them, it's a letterbox list that I'm making. So
Yeah.
when I see Backstabbed, literally there are only 18 reviews. It's very underseen. Okay.
Yes.
So the problem is availability for some of these movies. Like I was
Yeah.
looking at foreign slashers, and if I saw like 18 reviews or 5 reviews, I was just skipping them because I'm like, there's no way I'm even going to be able to find them. So luckily we have our connection. He can send it right
Kuno
over.
Kuno
Yeah.
helps us. He recommended them. These are from
Yeah.
Denmark, and as is he. But we have to question him because he did send that post where he's holding Terror 10 Killer and telling me to suck it. I'm kidding, Kuno. But all joking aside,
Awesome.
like, I'm going to watch them because they're recommended, and we said we are going to include foreign, and we wouldn't have been able to see them otherwise. But availability would be an issue in this case, and he even admitted they're hard to find. So the cool thing is
Right.
the connection there, and I'm willing to check him out for sure.
For sure. I have one person on my what do you call it? On my letterbox that has seen either movie. Final Hour was seen by somebody and he gave it 3.5 stars. That's all I have.
Wasn't
So
Kuno?
now I just add no, it wasn't. He's not my maybe he doesn't have a letterbox. Either way, I started the list and I put it on there. Year the Slasher 2 watch list. And like I said, it's not going to be what I'm not going to have Doom Asylum there, and I'm not going to have Don't Go in the Woods Alone because I'm
I
not
do
going
have
to
those.
watch them.
Well,
That's
one of them.
fine. Watch them.
One of
I
them I
know
do.
I'm not going to watch them because I know how low I've rated them in the past. If they're like below a 4, they literally have no chance of doing it. And I'm trying to. I don't know how much time I have, and I want to see how many foreign ones I have because I'm telling you. Let me tell you. I read these I didn't put on the letterbox. It's going to take some time, but I have all the ones that I gave a 6 or higher from the last time. I don't need to go through that. They've already been discussed. I probably mentioned them on or one of us mentioned them on the
Hmm.
top 50 show. So there's no reason to talk about them. Okay, I gotta because I even have the ratings and everything. Like Night School, I think it's fair to say then it's what do you call it? That it probably is. It was marketed as a slasher, has a slasher title, looks like a slasher. So I
Came out
think I
as
I
an
bought
American
into that.
slasher. Yeah, for sure.
Yes,
I
I
did
bought
too.
into that.
It was on
But
my list last
if it's a
time.
Jalo, same as I feel about Pieces, same as I feel about freaking the other one, I can't show favoritism, so I'm not going to include it.
But
However,
if it was made in the US, is
mhm,
it a giallo? It may be ripping
well,
off a giallo, but can it be a giallo without coming from, like, I guess we're
Like
calling
Dress to
the other
Kill
ones
is.
slashers. So are these officially American Giallos, or are American Giallos
Yeah.
slashers? Are they actually
No,
slashers?
I don't
Okay,
think so. I think a
good
Giallo
argument.
has its own format, and the slasher has another format. They're two different formats of movies, regardless of where they're made. Just like Pieces is from Mexico or wherever the hell it's from. It's a slasher. It's not from Italy. Pardon me, a Giallo doesn't matter. Just like what's the other one? That's that feels like a Giallo. I don't know, but there's one just like
New
and
York
just
Ripper.
because the movie come,
Oh,
huh?
that one is. We know that's Fulci, but New York Ripper. We said,
Oh yeah, there you go.
is that like, because again, when the cops are
Right,
incorporated to that extent, it
correct.
it kind of does take it, unless it's Maniac Cop or Psycho Cop. Then
Well,
obviously
yeah,
that's a bit different, but you know what I'm talking about. When there's police investigation, which Night School, there is a lot of that
yeah. That that
as
that
part of it.
disqualifies it. Really, that's how I feel. It's a disqualification for
And those
my
will be on my
rules.
list. That's why I don't want someone to look at my list and say, "Well, wait a second, you've got Prom Night on there." Because I did watch Prom Night as I was prepping. Like, I was just, because I'm watching slashers, so I put
Mhm.
Prom Night on there. But it's not. It's going to be. It's not included in my. It won't be included in my list, but it will be on my watch list because I watched that. I watched Sleepaway Camp, as I mentioned, and those are not going to be included because
They're
they're
not
franchise.
right.
But I'm just saying that they were part of it, and I will end up watching uh,
Well, that's okay.
other ones like Silent Night, Deadly Night at Christmas time. It will be put on there because, again, at the end of the day, I'm going to say I've watched these many slashers in preparation for the show, but here's what my list is.
Well, I'll tell you this: I'm not going to add. Like, I'm going to leave Maniac on there, but nowadays I don't think Maniac is a slasher. I don't, but I'm going to
I,
count it because just about everybody does, and I understand why they
yeah,
do. It's not as egregious as something like a Giallo. That's fine. So I'm going to do that, but that's another one. I am not going to put what do you call it on there either. There's another movie. Oh, Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker. As much as I
we were
want it to
talking
be
about
a
that last week.
slasher,
Yeah,
it's not a slasher. I want to stay true to myself, and we'll explain it when the show comes. I'll even say these are the parameters because I did the whole thing on Jay of the Deads. I had a whole freaking 10-minute thing, and I was talking about what for me what makes something a slasher, the elements of it and the elements that disqualify it and everything else. And I probably have the notes right here. I could do it really quick. I just have to find them. But so I'm taking all these notes. I'm writing all these things down, and then I got to a bunch of you know Cold Parade 1 to 3, Amsterdam,
yeah,
Dream Home, Stage Fright, Windmill Massacre, All Must Die is from Norway. The Record is from Korea. Grave Robbers, Midnight, Anatomy. All of these are foreign
yeah.
slashers.
I remember
Last
Anatomy coming
Matinee,
up. Yeah,
Bloody Reunion, Lesson of Evil, Rod Veer from Norway. I don't know. Dead in 3 Days, Bloody Beach, Flashback, Scared. And then I had Prevenge, High Tension, Anatomy. Oh, is Anatomy there twice? Yeah, it is. Okay, 2000. Edge of the Axe,
Anatomy
which I
2.
can't remember. I can't remember if Edge of the
Edge
Axe
of
was a
the X.
slasher or
It
felt
it,
like a
it,
Giallo
it
more.
is. It is a slasher. It's I
Right?
mean, I caught that. I missed that way back when, and I caught it because it was on, I think, Shutter,
Okay.
and
I have the Blu-ray.
it was a decent watch.
Yeah,
Was it
it
going to
is.
make the list? I don't know. I doubt it, but it was a decent enough watch. I enjoyed my
Hmm.
time with it. I'm going to watch it again for the show.
There you go.
So that's why I got an early start, because I knew I was going to be. There's all of these foreign ones that I am going to have to check out. But it's going to be difficult because you're going to have first time watches versus something that I've got nostalgic commitment and attachment to. And that's hard to break through. It's very difficult. Or I've watched, even Just Before
True.
Dawn, which I've watched, a handful of times, versus a foreign slasher for the first time. That foreign slasher's got to be fucking great to kind of dethrone even some of these ones that might have just been lesser. Like even Dr. Giggles,
Well,
which I hold in high regard, you still not high regard, but like 7 out of 10. You could have her right there.
fine.
Some people
But
hate it. Like it's
no, I liked it too. But the thing is, I don't have an attachment to it. The only ones I have any sentimental attachment to will probably be in my top 10. But everything from then, because they're standalones. I don't think that there's going to be a whole lot of stuff like a movie like a Dr. Giggles or something else, which I like. The opposite could happen to me because I notice a lot of times I watch a movie the first time and I rate it high. And I'm like, wow, what a movie. And then I'll go back and watch it a few years later. I'm like, okay, I gave it like a 9, but now it's more like an 8 or something. That does happen to me. Like the first time I see a movie, if it impresses me, it wows me. I'm like, wow, literally. I'm like, okay, I got to rate this an 8.5. So obviously an 8.5 is going to be above a 7 that I might give for Dr. Giggles. So I don't think it's going to rear its head because we have 50 movies. And I don't think you're going to have that much of a sentimental attachment to anything. I think 20 deep is as far as it's going to go for anybody. Because everything else are just going to be ones that are going to make it or not. So let me tell you, there's 3 more here. Cut, Bloody Moon, and Madhouse. That's what I have at this point. Okay. So, is the Ice Cream Man a slasher? We called it a slasher in the 90s, but when we talked about the 90s slashers that time, but is it or not?
I don't, with Clint Howard, right?
Yeah.
I don't believe so, but I would have to go back. Like The Dentist, is that a slasher? The Brian Yuzna.
Right. Film. Is it? I had it on my list last time.
So we probably would have to look. There's only 2 of those, right? So it counts. That's the other thing. I'd be like, is this a slasher? And I'm like, wait, it's disqualified because there's whatever. It was like something else that came into play. And I'm like, oh, perfect. It gets disqualified because there's 4 of them.
Oh, wait, I did find Backstabbed on there. Okay, so now here's more. Absurd, Mad Mutilator, The Bleeder with a question mark, Killing Spree, 7 Sol Bad, Evil Dead Trap, Satanic Attraction, Hell's Trap, Final Hour, Backstab, see there, The School's Out, Deep in the Woods, Bloody Beach, The Record, Black Serenade. I know there's some repeats here. The Pool, Bloody Reunion, Trackman, Invitation Only, Black Rat, Disco Path, Nobody Sleeps in the Woods Tonight, Fear Street, I'm considering one entity. The Redeemer, Son of Satan, and Hell High. Then we got The Majorettes, Home Sweet Home, Bloody Moon, Blood Song, Death Screams, Honeymoon Horror, Unhinged, Sledgehammer, The Silent Scream, which I don't consider a slasher anymore. I watched it. Silent Madness, Splatter University, Blood Hook, Evil Laugh, Berserker, Blood Frenzy, Body Count, Night Screams, Offerings, Hell's Trap, Deadly Manor, Killer Party. Yeah. So all of these are going to be on top of the other ones from the last time that I watched that are eligible on my list. So it's going to be pretty deep. I know I'm not going to get them all, but I am going to 100% try to get the foreign ones. The foreign ones I'm either going to get or not. I'm either going to get them added to my MB if I can, or Parker might have them on his Plex because that's what he has on his Plex, things that aren't available. Oh, okay.
I don't know what the fuck I hit there. Sorry.
It's okay. I was going to run. I was going to take the chance to run when that happened.
No. But yeah, maybe we should stop it there. But I like that. I like the fact that you put that. Listen, we're going to be leaving certain ones up. But the thing is, what we watch versus what's going to make. I already know. Like I made. If you remember, I was actually going to do that list, redo it. I had teased it. I had teased it a few times, saying I'm going to take out the franchises and make the list. And I never did. And that was kind of the catalyst for this. So I can actually look at that list, take out the franchises, plot like where everything falls as of right now. But there'd already be some retweaks because Dorm the Drip Blood probably maybe will show up now because I haven't rewatched any of the or seen any of these other ones, the foreign ones. But if you remember, we didn't have Cold Prey trilogy. We did this show on that, but we didn't have it as a part of that show because it was foreign slasher, and I liked those. I remember I liked 2 even better than 1. So I think 1 and 2 could easily show up on that list if I go back and I have that same experience again, based on where they were rated when we did that trilogy. So it's going to be interesting.
That's what I'll do. I'll go back. I'll look at what we rated them the first time, and then I'll watch them. So I'm curious to know. But if there was something else I was going to disqualify for being a slasher. Son of a gun. There was something else. It was oh well.
I'll send it to me in chat and we'll figure it out. But maybe we should get to these movies. And if you want to take a quick break, let's take a quick break and then
okay. So movies here. By the way, I found that thing. I found that list of what constitutes a slasher and what doesn't. I'll read it next show. so you guys can
Okay.
hear my opinions on it. It could probably take about 10-15 minutes of a discussion, so maybe you get a better idea of what I'm going for personally with it. And yeah, that's that. And happy spooky season, see, and happy Shocktober
It's
around the corner.
September. It's September
Yes,
4th.
it
Spooky
is.
season.
I just had to put it out there, but
Fucking Christ. It's
amazing.
summer. Everybody's like, oh, it's Labor Day. Summer's over. No, this is the last long weekend of summer.
It's 90 degrees
Summer,
out today.
yeah, it's fucking boiling. The heat's coming through. I walked outside when we took the break. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? My daughter, we just moved her into residence at a university. It's
Oh,
a sad
yeah.
weekend. It's a very sad weekend, but
Oh,
she's no air conditioning
bet.
because the dorms don't have air conditioning because typically they're not used during the hot summer months. They're used from September to April. But of course,
Right.
there's a heat wave where she is too. And even with a fan, she said they barely could get any sleep. It was so freaking hot. So that's what I just found out when I went out there, that they had a great first night, great first day, other than lousy sleep. But yeah, we still have 3 weeks of summer.
Indeed.
Just
we
shy
do.
of 3 weeks. Go fuck yourself, spooky season.
Well,
not,
to me, it's
again,
football. It's football right now. September equals football.
and
October
basketball
equals
in a couple of weeks as well, and whatever. You know what? Like, I get it. I'm excited. I'm not. Everybody's like, "Why do you shit?" We always sound like we're shitting on people. It's just
Right.
October.
No.
God damn it, October. It's coming, guys. Keep your fucking thing in your pants. Everything's
Well-
coming. Like, just enjoy it.
It's like I say, I don't want to contradict. I don't want to freaking be a dick, because when people start talking about Christmas anytime before the day after Thanksgiving, I have an issue with it. I don't want to hear about it yet. Just stop. Just slow it. And a lot of people say that now. It's getting earlier and earlier. So why do I want to turn around and say, well, just because I love Halloween more than I love Christmas, why do I feel I have the right to talk about it for 2 to 3 months before it's here? I don't want to be that type of person that's contradicting themselves. I want to be fair. So that's how
You could go to Spirit Halloween. I mean, they're open now or whatever. Go,
by all
who cares?
means.
Again,
Have fun.
it's so weird that, like, I mean, we're horror fans. The whole year is spooky fucking season. Like, this is what I'm again. We watch horror movies whenever.
Yeah,
Like, again,
I get it.
Who am I talking
There are
to?
fun things to do.
Yeah.
There's fun things to do in October. I'll tell you that. Haunted houses and this and that. And
Raking
trip,
fucking
that
leaves.
stuff.
That's what I got to do.
Yeah, that sucks.
Anyway, yeah.
Anyway,
I'm jaded.
I'll say this.
I'm jaded. Damn it.
Before we go into these movies, I will say this. I ended up liking one less than I thought I was going to like it, and liking one more than I thought I was going to like it. So we'll leave it at that. Going into it, I didn't know how I was going to feel, and then that's what happened. By the time I was one, I was like, oh, man. The other one, I was like, this is just getting better, and I'm entertained. So,
well,
there we
I
have
said it. I started earlier. I mean, we've been kind of going back to it throughout the show. I mean, I said, Craven, we had 2 turkeys, 2 thunderous turds.
Thunderous turds, he says.
A doozy of a duo. I don't know. We could call everything that. It sucks though, because Craven feels like he couldn't escape the shadow of nightmare. So, like, every one of his films, including Serpent and Rainbow, Deadly Friend, Serpent and Rainbow, Shocker, have nightmare elements that are integral to the plot, or huge in the plot. You're like, really? Like, can't you get away from this? And I get it. We've heard the stories. I started this, and then I think we got side railed and went down a whole different path. We've heard that meddling producers have fucked with artistic vision and the director's vision for time. But doesn't it seem like Craven has cried about this or suffered from this the most out of any of them? At least he seems to be the loudest. It always sounds like, whether it be Hills of Ice 2, whether it be Deadly Friend, whether it be Serpent or Shocker, there's always been these producers that have compromised his vision and made him do things. I'm like, is this guy just so soft-spoken he hasn't been able to stand up for himself? Is he just, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, I'm sure Carpenter had these problems too, but there's still this thumbprint and artistic vision that doesn't seem to be compromised Whereas Craven's
Right.
movies come across as TV movies, for the most part. Again, I feel horrible because I said pedestal when I was young, and there's still
Mhm.
movies that I love of his that are up there. I'm just two of them are not the ones we're talking about tonight: Deadly Friend and Shocker. So, do
That's
you want to
fair.
start with
Hey,
Deadly Friend?
yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, of
Yep.
course. I'm not remotely ready. I brought up something like some notes that I took, and not the actual movie. But I'll have that up in 2 seconds here as we bring it up. Okay, so Deadly Friend, 1986. Oh, I'm gonna need my glasses, or I'm not gonna read this at all.
Yeah. It's
Here,
glasses time, folks.
it's glasses time. Oh, it's a very short description, though. After his friend is killed by her abusive father, the new kid in town attempts to save her by implanting a robotic microchip into her brain. Okay, I do have to take. I've here. Here's my description. Boy who's built a cute Johnny Five robot named BB moves into a new home. Boy meets girl. Crappy Goonies neighbor shoots robot and it dies. Abusive Freddy S. dad accidentally kills girl. Boy puts dead robot's computer chip into dead girl's head. Girl comes back to life with bad eyeshadow and Vulcan hands, thirsty for sweet revenge. Revenge includes snapping daddy's neck, basketball decapitation, diving out a second story window, bully chucking, and running and jumping like an idiot, all whilst occasionally screaming BB. Of course, there's a couple of nightmare sequences thrown into the mix, as well as a jaw dropping, laugh inducing ending. There. That's my
Okay.
description of Deadly Friend. Now we'll talk about it in review form. But go ahead, Dave. I had to kibosh it
That's
and throw
great.
that all out there right
No,
at the beginning.
that's great. I'll tell you this. I saw this one and the other one at the movies. It was a time
At
we
the
were still
show.
going to the movies at the show. Yeah, we were going out. So I know I saw this one. I remember looking forward to it. I remember having fun in the theater actually because there was some big scenes and everything, and it was one of those things. I haven't watched it in quite a long time. I see the basketball scene every now and then, rightfully so because it's awesome. Um, Here's the weird thing: my memory of the movie is her walking around for over half the movie saying "BB, BB." Not true at
I
all. And I was
yeah.
so glad it wasn't like that. She doesn't even die for quite a while. But then when she does, she only does the BB thing twice for no reason in a couple scenes when she does some things and throws them. Then at
For
the end, she goes,
no reason.
I guess it was just maybe that's a producer's thing because she wasn't even acting. Okay, she was acting like the robot, but we didn't know. They kept calling her Sam, but we didn't know if it was in between or what. Turns out she was in between. It just depends on what was going on, which I could understand from a sci-fi horror narrative. That's fine. I don't have a problem with the movie. I actually have fun with it. And it's it's an interesting one. It's more something to kick back and watch with friends. I think it's kind of has that cheesy 80s. It's so 80s in the best
Yep.
way. Like in the
Matt,
best way though. Like I love the way this feels 80s. Sometimes I watch something from the 80s and it just seems like it's 80s because of the worst possible trends that were going on. But this one doesn't feel that way. This one just seems like a product of its time, but in a good way. And for that reason, I enjoyed it. I didn't expect to enjoy it. And really, I don't have any complaints. Could there have been more kills? Sure. But because my recollection was something so much worse, um, no, it wasn't that. It was a simple thing. This happened. They went in, the new kid's in town, makes a friend with the one. He has the robot. It's all cool. He's a whiz kid, brain surgeon, possible, everything else. And then, meets the girl. We see that she has an abusive dad. It's sad. You feel for her. You see what happens. And then, the resurrection, which is that's what people do. It's like a pet cemetery thing. It's like anything. If you think you have a way to bring somebody back, you're going to do it, reanimator, whatever. So you have that idea to do it, and they do it. And sure, of course, it's silly in a sci-fi horror way, but you just go with it in this kind of movie. So because of that, that didn't really bother me. And I actually thought that her performance was actually quite good. The way she sells being a robot. It's not easy to do without looking. I could see people laughing at it. I didn't laugh at it. I was like, oh, you know what? She's putting on a pretty decent performance considering what they're asking her to do here. And
Oh
we've
yeah,
seen
for
it
sure.
before.
But it's still ridiculous. But I mean, exactly. Yeah, I did laugh
Well,
at
it's
it. But I mean, that's
ridiculous,
that's
but
me. That's the difference between us, I guess.
I mean, I could laugh at it in the right situation, I guess, but I don't know. I do like to laugh at certain movies, but it didn't happen here. I thought that she played it well. You're right about the eyeshadow. I don't understand why the eyeshadow was that way.
It
Everything else
was
made sense, but
well the
you're
Vulcan.
right.
You know what?
Well, yeah, because it's
Here.
BB. She's
Oh,
doing robot things.
it's
It's what do you
so
mean?
stupid. Here,
Why
this
is
is
it
the
stupid?
thing.
It's a robot
It,
brain. It functions like a robot. It makes perfect sense.
the reality is it's never boring. Yeah, I can agree with you there. It's never
True, it's
boring,
not
but
boring. Yeah,
it is a movie to watch in a group because you can sit around and laugh at it. The reality is it's just no
sometimes.
different than what we were talking about Don't Go in the Woods last week, where I could give this a 10 out of 10 and say it is so batshit bonkers, stupid, dumb that you can't help but laugh at it and get enjoyment from it for all the wrong reasons. But it's just there's no life to it. It feels like it's just like a TV film. It just feels like a TV movie with Freddyisms thrown in. The dad looks like Freddy. I mean, I think he stumbles down. He goes to the boiler room. There's nightmare sequences for no reason whatsoever in this movie. And they're so horribly orchestrated. You're like, did he just come off of Nightmare? Where these nightmare sequences were actually good before they became so elaborate and it actually just felt like a nightmare as in the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and then he comes here and she sticks that like vase like top into it, and the dad just
I
like
fell for
laughing
it too.
and it's like shooting out. I'm just like, this is fucking bonkers. It looks like it's a Monty Python skit thrown into the movie.
I loved that blood. I was like, wow, that's nice and bloody. Holy shit, is this
And
real? Because it had me going for the longest time until it didn't. Then I was like, okay, this is a dream. But for a while, usually I could tell something's a dream. In this case, I was like, holy shit, she just did this to her father? And I thought it was a little over the top, but I was like, okay, I still like seeing blood all over the place. So,
well, I mean the abusive father thing is sad. Yeah, I get it.
yeah.
Again, it's kind of shoved down after school special kind of treatment in this movie. I know that remember this movie, according to Craven and involved in this, was supposed to be a PG kind of lighthearted kind of like thriller in a sense, not a straight out horror movie. And they said the producers didn't know who he was and then found out who he was. Said, we've got the nightmare guy. Okay, we need you to, because I guess he stupidly put in one nightmare sequence, which I'm assuming is the dad. Then suddenly there was like one or two more added in and more gore. Now, as a kid, I like that basketball sequence. And I know that people put it if there's usually like a montage sequence created by some horror fans or whatever, that sequence is usually put in. But if we actually break down that sequence, it's fucking ridiculous. And I'm not just talking about the fact that the basketball caused a decapitation. And I can have fun. I loved it as a kid. It was fun. But then I'm just looking at it as a movie. Like I try to be critical here, and maybe I'm being too much of an asshole. But the reality is, she's screaming. Anne Ramsey is fucking screaming before the girl even does anything. The way they set that scene up, she's like, ah! Then she's like picking up the basketball. Then she throws it. She's still screaming. Then she gets decapitated. And then look at that fucking body. Look at that decapitated body. Once it's like rumbling and flopping around the room there, it looks so stupid. It looks so bad. It looks like lumpy. It looks like there's just like a hand puppet popping in. It looks like a hand's coming through the chest. It doesn't look good at all. It's so poorly put together. You can't help but unsee it once you see it that way. She's screaming for no reason. She knows Sam's back. She doesn't know what the hell's going on, but she's screaming before Sam even picks up the basketball. At what? I don't know.
I don't think she was screaming before she picked up the basketball. She picked up the basketball and then but we didn't see what she did. We just saw her screaming. In the very next scene, we see the basketball flying. Because I thought it too. I'm like, she's screaming already. And then sure enough, then the basketball comes at her.
I
So I
guess.
think that's what it was. We as the audience, we weren't privy to seeing what she was seeing. So they were saving it to surprise us. As far as the other thing, I actually wrote as a note, great basketball kill and after effect, because you never see anybody talk about you only see the exploding head, which is great looking. Nobody ever talks about, and I forgot it happened. I'm like, wow, look at this decapitated head moving around. Yeah, it looked a little bit electronical, but blood spurt down and it's doing its thing. It reminds you of something you'd see in like Return of the Living Dead. It was just a little bit goofy at the time, but it's still a decapitated freaking body moving around a little bit and then dropping.
Oh,
I think it was a cherry on
man.
top of the kill that no one talks about.
No,
Yeah,
it's so
isn't
funny
that
that we could see
something?
things differently.
Yeah,
To me, it was a really badly put together like effect. Like it was the actual
could have
decapitation
been
itself
better, but
is cool, even though even though basketball decapitation is stupid. They somehow everybody when they talk about this movie, that's what they remember from this movie. But the flopping body after looks like a bad Muppet or something. It's so wonky. It's crazy. I don't know.
wow.
I'm not on board. I'm going to be like a naysayer here. It's just the ending. I thought she ran more, to be honest. So you're thinking BB. I admit, I thought she said BB more, and I remember her running
Yeah.
like Terminator robot more. And she still runs stupid and jumps over a car, and it's just so bad shit. I'm like I was really like saying this is really goofy, but you don't see that. So I again
Well,
to me,
yeah, that's fair. It's just a robot. She's acting the same way BB would, except because it's BB's brain. So she's going into BB action. She has BB strength. I love the part when she jumps out the window. I never saw that coming. When they go to the guys and the guy's complaining about her, and that poor bastard. First he freaking passes out. I think he passes out like 3 times in this movie. It wasn't even. It was meant to be a little bit funny, but he was
yeah,
like. Then he said, "No." First he said, he said first, he goes, I'm going to throw up or something. And the guy tells him to throw up later. Well, first he threatened
yeah.
throwing up, and then he passes out. And then he passes out later on the bike when they say that there's murders going on. And then later they go to the house.
That's a
And
theme he carried
dude,
over in Shocker. I swear.
I wowed though. When she
You
jumped
what?
out of that window, I wowed to that. I
Oh, you
popped.
wow!
When
I
she
laughed
jumped
my
out of that
fucking head
window,
off. She
I didn't
threw
expect that at
sweat.
all.
Oh my
I
god!
loved it. I was
I'm
like,
laughing my
holy
head
shit.
off. It's just so
Wow.
batshit crazy. It's so filmed matter of factly that it's just laugh-inducing. She just out the window. That's what I'm like. It's
Well,
so
it's a robot.
crazy. And then and then that kid when he falls off his bike at the first shot again out of nowhere, just so poorly executed.
That
There's
was funny. That's a note I have written down. The
wow.
kid is like he was afraid to do it as a stunt kid. So they said, okay, just barely touch your freaking bike tire to the curb and then fall off. It was so poorly executed. Yeah, I wrote that down. Hold on. This is my note.
Yeah.
Here's my first note. Sounds like a gremlin. Did you notice that, by the way? When BB's in the back seat, and I was like, what does that sound like? It was BB kept talking and making noises to itself and doing his thing.
Yeah.
Sounded just like a gremlin. It sounded like when they turn to
True.
gremlins and
Yeah.
when they go and and when they
Yeah.
go, deagle, deagle, deagle. I'm telling you, this is a fucking gremlin. I can't. And in my recollection, it was just a
I
robot
wish it
going.
was a gremlin.
But it sounded like a gremlin. Then terrible jump off bike. That was my neck because it was so bad. It was so poorly edited. I
Dude,
can't believe they didn't do a better job.
terrible opening scene. What if that was the hooker? I'm like, this is. I've always remembered this. It's like,
Oh, the
what
guy
a
ripping off the
weird
car?
scene. Like, I'm gonna break into this car. Like,
It is
if it was any other movie, the guy, the neck would have been crushed, or he would have been killed and chucked into the bushes so you don't see him, and then the family gets to leave still or something. I guess BB's not violent though. But then why would the girl be violent if BB's not violent? So then there's really no carryover in the structure because the
no, no,
girl's
no, no,
now
no.
vengeful and going. I get it. I know I'm
BB's
being
not
literal.
violent.
Where
No. Hold on. Let me explain. BB's not violent, but has the strength to be, as we've seen. But the one that has revenge and violence on the mind is Samantha. Because the first thing she does is go after her father immediately. She sees him, identifies him as this is the son of a bitch. All right. And goes and kills him, then goes back for the ball because the woman took their ball.
But no,
So
I
it
think she
was
goes
like,
back to kill him because she killed BB. She shot BB, which is now
well, there you
BB
go.
wanting to
That was
kill her.
revenge.
Well, but
But
then
it
I
was
did
coming
watch the
from her,
scene
I
while
think.
we were talking again. I did watch the scene while we're talking. So they get in this little wrestling match, which is even very comical. And I guess they had to be cautious because Anne Ramsey was a little older. And then she gets thrown back against the thing,
Yeah.
like sort of looks at hits the door, looks at her, and you see Sam, like I think Sam, like, and she starts screaming before.
Right.
So she's screaming. Sam
As she
reaches
picks up the
down,
ball.
picks up the ball. So she's screaming before Sam's done anything. She's screaming, reaches down, picks up the ball, looks back up, still screaming. Sam whips the ball at her and gets decapitated. Again,
Okay.
decapitation notwithstanding, that there's a little bit of coolness there. I can't deny that until it doesn't get cool. I mean, you like the aftermath. I did not.
I didn't love
Like the
it. This is what
floppy
I'm
the
saying.
Muppet, and it's so poorly structured. I this is what I'm saying. Craven here, you see none of what sort of transpires as greatness through the movies that pop that he does that actually work. Like this again, and I'm being harsh on it, I know, but it just falls flat in almost every regard. And that opening where I was going with it is just like, I guess you're supposed to get what is this thing in the back, but it's such a weird opening. Baby, and then just like guy just runs away, and then he shuts the door, and then that's the introduction to the movie we've got. So bizarro.
I guess
So
it's a little
bizarre.
odd that's how we get introduced to him. I guess just they want to establish that he's strong, and that's all we know. But no, I hear you. To me, it's just a simple, fun freaking movie. That's all it is. Is there some editing issues? Yeah, sure, that's fine. But I was engaged with it enough. I didn't check out when I needed. There was enough kills that they were timely. It was good. I felt for the people. I felt for the kids, the people in the movie. I cared about the freaking, you know, obviously her, and she did a real good job, Christy Swanson, but
I
Paul
will
and
agree with
Samantha
that.
and the other friend, yeah, and the
All of
mother,
them they are. He does a good job. The lead, the main boy, the whiz kid, the mom, his friend, other than when he's falling off that bike,
right.
and her, and again her, she had to do what was asked of her, but she's decent enough in the role. It's just that she's asked to do stupid things. And again, and you don't think in all that case, but I'm just saying, like, they're just so over the top, and she is good. I feel bad because she does sell it. I mean, I like her, but the what the movie itself, I do not. But I can't disagree with that. At least the characters are likable. That part he
Yeah.
got across. They got across, and I guess Craven and company managed to capture that. But I give them the credit for that as actors.
Yeah. I like the way the dad got killed. That was a good kill. The kills were good when I got to see them. And it just kept me engaged enough. So I was just like, I don't know, I didn't take it too seriously. I just, it was kind of funny. I didn't understand why that dead guy was in the bed. The dead dad did show up to his bed. That made no sense. I was like, okay, why is that extra dream in there? So I'll meet you on that one. That there was no reason for her to have a dream. Yeah, she's traumatized,
Yeah,
but
he
for him
has
to
it.
have a dream and
It's
a
so
head's in bed,
stupid.
it was
Yeah.
just thrown in. No, I agree that it was just. You're right. It was just something that was ordinarily wouldn't be there. But I like her diving out the window. It took me by total surprise. That was the last thing I thought was going to happen. I was like, holy shit, this one's really dedicated. Imagine how cool that would be if Michael Myers did that. Somebody was, and he fucking jumped out the window to freaking get on top. I don't know. I think it's cool. The one guy I think is real funny. The freaking guy, he was like a combination of fucking Rambo and Nick from freaking Family Ties.
Yeah.
When he's freaking,
Yeah.
what the hell was he gonna do?
Hey,
He was,
you. I don't know what that is, but he wanted to. I don't know what and then BB fought them off or scared them off, and then he corners him at the end again, or whatever. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
And then she threw
she
them
just
out.
picks him up and tosses him, and I'm laughing my
Yeah.
fucking head off. It's ridiculous. It's just so over the top.
Well, it's robot strength. What do you want?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know?
It just
There's a lot of stuff in the 80s.
it was like
this.
Small Wonder, man. I mean, Small Wonder had a better effects budget than this movie.
And I'll tell you, the ending, I don't know. And we have Halloween. We have Halloween moments, which are fun.
Whoa.
That's all
That ending,
cool.
you don't know what? That ending, the ending?
I'm not talking about the very. I'm
Okay.
talking about right before that. I thought the movie was going to end there. And I wrote, man, that ending stings. Because I felt bad about fucking what had happened with the girl. It was fucking devastating. Really, it was a sad story. There is something to this movie. There's some heart to it. There's some sadness. Even for being a silly movie, you're like, oh man, this fucking poor girl. She was such a sweet girl. She didn't do anything wrong, and this is what happened because she had an abusive asshole father. It's terrible. No, but the very ending was just stupid as shit. And I can't stand when movies do that. And I always call them out when they do it. Sometimes the cherry on top works, and other times it's a complete
Oh my God.
failure. And that was just
This is a
stupid. 'Cause
failure from
why would he go there?
conception. It's a failure from conception. It's a failure, well, because he wanted to revive her again. It's a failure from conception. It's a failure from an effects standpoint. The special effects wizards on that should be fired. I hope they never worked again after that. That was horrible effects work as well.
What effects?
And then
What
you have
part?
BB burying his way out of her fucking face, and the hands coming off, and then robot hands.
Oh,
Absolutely, positively dreadful, and just mouth-droppingly bad. You're just like, am I seeing this no differently than my experience with the next movie we're going to be talking? Like, I mean, what are we watching here? What are you trying to do? And when Craven fucking does this, these are the Cravenisms I'm talking about. I've said it on the show before, and I'll say it again. It's batshit, mind-boggling, crazy decision making.
I hear you something, but I mean, you think these are bad effects? Try watching some shot on video freaking thing or something.
That's shot on video. My expectations are now already, whether right or wrong, because I know there's a lot of shot on video fans out there, are already like, like way down at the bottom. Again, this to me is like a 3 out of 10. I'm only saying this right now, and I'd rather watch this than a shot on video again, typically. And this is and that's where I am. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is
wow.
This is just a howler in all the wrong ways. Like it's a bad movie for me.
You give this a 3 out of 10.
Yep.
I can't wait to hear what you're going to say about the next movie. Okay. I give it a 6.5. I had fun with it. And
a lot of people do, man. A lot of people like this.
I think it's great, obviously.
I mean, no, that's a realistic thing. And I just like look at this. I'm like, what is going on here? But the kids are likable. The acting's decent there. Like, I mean, they get a good job, but it's fuck. I mean, I like some of the stuff in Jason Goes to Hell too. I have like some of that rapport in there. I like some of the effects work in there in the uncut version. Still, it's still my least favorite one, and whatever. And so I've got to I gotta keep things in context when it comes to things like this. Is like I said, when Craven misses, he misses.
That's fair. Okay, all right. Well, I'm really curious about the next one then, because I had a different experience with the next one. I thought I was gonna like it more.
Yeah. Well, this next one was put on my slasher list because it was going to be one that I wanted to put on the slasher list, and this is 1989 Shaka. Again, directed by Wes Craven. If you didn't know what we were doing today, after being sent to the electric chair, a serial killer uses electricity to come back from the dead and carry out his vengeance on the football player who turned him into the police. I'm sorry. And this is like, if you like My Soul to Take, I'm sure you're going to like this one too, because he loves his supernatural slashers, which I'm not against. I'm not against that. I ripped off a lot of this shit back in the day. It's something that I do like. I do like a little bit of that mixture. And at 15 years old, I really liked this movie. I wanted it gorier, but I liked the movie, and I was kind of on board. But boy, oh boy, is this just falling right off the cliff for me as I've gotten older.
Oh yeah, I was never, even the first time I saw it, I wasn't that into it. I was like, okay, I see what he's trying to do here. Like treated some other new character, but nothing was explained right. It just wasn't. And then it just got ridiculous in the second half. The fact that ghost girl was coming around,
holy
just
fuck,
stupid for no reason. That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
And the necklace being the freaking
Oh,
crucifix, I guess.
oh
The
my
holy water.
lord!
That's
Like
love can beat them all. It's so poor.
where the rules are established on the fly here. So I'm with you, man. Like all that stuff is just dumb. And again, I know dumb is a horrible descriptor, but it's just
It is
like
dumb.
it's
Sorry.
just stupid script writing. Like I mean, it doesn't
is.
make any sense.
There's no rhyme or reason to what he's even doing. With they don't explain it well enough when you see him before he gets the electric chair, getting involved with electricity somehow, doing something, and then that ridiculous freaking voice comes out and says, "What does it say? You got it."
Oh my god.
Something like that.
Oh my god, dude. So here it is. The first 35 minutes are somewhat passable, because it's so fast paced that you're just going from one thing to another. He's killing this family, that thing. You're like, what the fuck's going on? Why does this guy have easy? I'm not saying it's good. It's messy, but it's like so fast paced that like for me to complain when I talk about movies that take too long to get going, they're trying to establish this menace to get to the execution part, and that is where it goes like off the rails. But even in that 35 minutes, it's still just wackily paced when they're wedging in this, that, all the slapsticky stuff with him being like, accent prone that never comes back into it other than in the opening act where he's like running into that, falling over that table and this, that, and the other thing.
Well, because he's obsessed with his girlfriend. He's preoccupied.
Then I don't know. Does she live with her parents? Does she live on his own? Are they at another house together? But there's that. Then his ESP connection with Horace, which I guess gets explained because of their blood. More fucking dreams. More dreams. I do like that he's a family killer, but even the newscasts and everything are just so over the fucking top. And if you watch My Soul Today again, it's exactly like this. Everything's just amped up to 11. What you hate about Nightmare 4, everything seems like he's a family killer. He's doing this, that. Oh, is there a copycat killer? Is this what's going on here? Even when Jonathan dreams about the murders, it's not paced well. It's like the mom's like, Jonathan, do something. Like, okay, mom, give me a chance here. I don't know what the fuck's going on here. Like, let me help you. Like, it just, I'm like, what am I watching? Like, what's happening? But the first 35 minutes, I'm trying to be on board with, and then they go, oh, he requested a TV in his cell or whatever, and then they go, and then he's with these jumper cables.
Yeah.
And again, dude, this is when I guess you could call me Childs from The Thing, because like I just can't believe any of this voodoo bullshit. I'm sorry, I had to say it because they talk about black magic and voodoo and all this, and I'm like, what the hell are you trying to sell me? What am I watching on the screen right now? And I can't forgive it. It's so horrible in the sense of the electrical current that talks and says, yeah, baby, or whatever. It's like, and then shoots into him. You're like, what the fuck is going on here? No way. Better left unseen. They could have just talked about it. Like they said that they found the black magic and remnants of voodoo or whatever the hell, like on the newscast, and left it there. I have no clue. Like you watch that, and if you're not saying, what the fuck am I witnessing here?
Okay.
I don't know.
Check it. I have what I believe to be the perfect analogy for this movie. This movie, if Wes Craven would have stuck with Nightmare on Elm Street and did some of the sequels, it wouldn't have helped the franchise at all at that time, because this is just like watching a Nightmare on Elm Street 4, 5, or 6 to me. That's what I was feeling. I go, this is just ridiculous. It's goofy when it shouldn't be. None of this is adding up, and this is poorly written. The same way I feel about all the cheesy stuff that happens in those Nightmare movies. This replicates it perfectly. So it's like anyone who thinks that Wes Craven, if he could have directed those movies, I think it was almost like maybe he was doing it on purpose. Well, they turned Nightmare on Elm Street into this freaking ridiculous thing. I'm going to cash in right now. It's 1989 because comedy and goofy shit and horror is what's hot. So I'm going to make a stupid thing like this shocker and say, well, since Freddy can travel by this, why can't this guy just travel by electricity? It was done, I hate to say it. it was done
Cool.
better in Trick or Treat.
Yep.
Right?
Agreed. Agreed. And there's a
100%.
supernatural quote unquote slasher that has a couple of unexplained moments to it, but that works better for
Yep.
and you're bang on. So in this one though, it's so poorly executed that you wonder, like, for instance, even the writing, like, didn't they catch their own mistakes as they're doing it? Like, so he gives her that little pendant for her birthday. I don't know if they're trying to call back Evil Dead, because remember Wes Craven and Sam
Right.
Raimi
True.
had
Right.
this back and forth. So like the whole
Good
pendant
call.
thing in Evil Dead, and so maybe that, and Ted Raimi's in this too. So you're wondering if
Yes,
maybe
he
that's like Wes
is.
Craven's like thing. So I mean, that aside, cool Easter eggs, bro, but fuck the movie. The reality is that like they set up this thing, and it's her birthday. She gets slaughtered by Pinker, and he writes
Yeah. What a surprise.
happy birthday, Jonathan, for Horace Pinker. It's not his birthday, it's her birthday.
Right.
It's like,
You're
what do
right.
you? I'm like, what? What? It's not like he gave her the gift. It's her birthday, and it's like, oh, I didn't think you'd remember with everything going on. Yeah, I did.
Good
Now I do
call.
like the
Wow.
dad. The dad's in Cloak and Dagger as well. He plays the heavy in there. And again, the body hopping stuff is not good. It's laughable in this. When he jumps into the little kid, when he jumps into
Oh,
fucking
I
LeBang,
loved that though.
Shabam or whatever, Yobang from part 6, and when he
Yes, you bang again. He was him playing the same part,
yeah,
and he shot the guy. He even had pulled out a gun. I'm waiting for him to say wherever the red dot goes, you bang. But he didn't.
the only funny part is that jogger that just happens to be running by, and the poor
You know
son
what
of
he
a bitch
says?
gets shot.
Dude, these are all my notes. These are all my notes. Okay. You got it, baby. LOL. That's what the guy said.
Yeah.
You got it, baby. Then I said, why send the doc in while he's still alive? Because they give him
Yeah.
the chair, and
Oh
like,
my God.
obviously you're still alive. What are you gonna send a doctor in for?
Yeah.
All you gotta do is rehook it up and fry him some more. You send the
What
doctor
were they
after.
thinking? Oh, it was
I don't
horrible.
know.
And then she
So
gets
then-
electrocuted. Like, what is it? Aftershocks? It's so it's so
I know.
infuriatingly bad.
And then these are my notes right after that, right in a row. Ya bang is what I wrote. And then I wrote, I didn't do anything. That's what the jogger says when he goes to shoot at him. I didn't do anything.
I thought of you. I thought of you when that scene came out. I'm like, that's why I use those words, you that poor son of a bitch, because that's something you would say about just some random guy. He just comes in and he gets shot. But the body transfer effects are not good. And they're supposed to be state of the art at the time. I mean, this movie wasn't a huge budget. I think it was like $5 million, but I think they reserved a lot of that budget for that end thing. Things that, again, I thought were cool when I was 15 years old, that I'm just scratching my head going, this is stupid. Like, reactions to people, if it's not live TV. First of all, the whole thing's stupid. Let me just make sure I get that out of the way right now. Them going through the channels and whatever. It's a cool idea in movie reality. Movie. But like when you're in a live show, okay, great, makes sense. When you're in a pre-recorded show, like something that happened way back when, and they're reacting to the actors coming into the scene, that's fucking dumb. That's stupid.
So dumb.
When you've got an old movie and then the old actors are reacting to Horace Pinker and Jonathan coming through the shot. I mean, stupid. And how
about that woman?
Writing again. But again, I can't take it away from when they go to a live session, when it's like the evangelist and whatever. I can deal with that, even though I don't like any of that stuff. Who was that?
Timothy Leary. I was glad it was him, Dr. Timothy Leary, Mr. LSD. Turn on, tune in, drop out. Fucking good shit. I like that they put him in there. Kane Roberts was in there for a cameo. He's the guitarist from Alice Cooper at the time.
Well, they had a lot of metal, like the metal soundtrack.
And the metal soundtrack.
At 15 years old, everything kind of just hit. I mean, you had like, I think, Maximum Overdrive that kind of helped catapult this thing, and then I remember No More Mr. Nice Guy cover from
Dave
Megadeth or Dave Mustaine. I guess maybe it was fully Megadeth doing this, and then I remember it all, and it hasn't really aged well. Even my metal, I love metal and whatever, but again, you could see why that match died out very quickly.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and the songs weren't even that great, and that they had
No.
in there. They had. I think it was a group thing. I think it was Mustaine and some other people, but there was like different. I got to look up the soundtrack. I was going to and I forgot, but it's an interesting track list. But also that scene with when it goes into the little girl, I'm laughing for 5 minutes because first of all, when she gets on the freaking when the little girl gets on the bulldozer and she goes, "Come on, you fucker," and she's trying to shift it, I laugh. But here's the even funnier part: when she gets off from, and this is my sense of humor, you know this. I'm picturing the woman, the mother of this little girl, and she's watching freaking the kid chase the little girl. She thinks that this guy's trying to attack her daughter. And there's the little girl running. The kid is chasing the little girl because he knows it's Pinker, and then the mother's chasing the both of them because he thinks that this rando is attacking.
It's a batshit crazy sequence filmed during the day, which again, horror in the day is a good concept, but there's no atmosphere. It's just so flatly shot, and it's just random. I think you can see the shadow of the camera and a few things. It's just so poorly done. It felt like there was no love. If you told me Craven was totally on coke, just like we heard the rumors of Stephen King being on that during Maximum Overdrive, I'd be like, okay, that helps explain things a bit. But I don't think he was. I don't know if he was, but I'd almost want that to be the case so that it could explain it. It just so, like, that's the problem. Like, the atmosphere is just kind of sucked out of this. It just happens before your eyes, and you're just kind of like, it's a mishmash. Nothing sort of sticks for me. And then the girlfriend, where she's a ghost in certain sequences, she's the ultimate
Out of
power. In other
nowhere.
ones, Horace is like
Yeah.
afraid of her, and they're like, "What? Where did they establish this shit?" And then
See
when she
that?
floats up to Jonathan in the water, and then he has to go find the necklace
In the
what?
dark.
Under a timeline again. Like,
Come
why
on.
constrict yourself to the timeline? Hit this thing at exactly at midnight and whatever, and
Oh, and how did he
live
know?
TV and all this stuff, and oh
How did
man,
Horace Pinker know the time? He goes like 3 minutes to 12.
yep,
That already happened. He goes, "You better check
yeah,
your watch." I'm like,
yeah.
"What?
I think your
How
ticker
badly written?
started whatever. I'm like, what is going on?
How
Like,
so bad?"
oh man,
And what did the
I'm.
coach say? I wrote this line down. I went back and I rewound it and watched it 3 times.
He
And this is
said,
what the guy says.
"You can do better than this, Craven. You can do better than this.
Awesome.
Give me 20 for this piece of shit." That's what he said. I have nothing.
No, he was talking to the kid. What's the kid's name?
Jonathan.
Whatever the Jonathan. He was talking to Jonathan, and he says, "You're
Thank
telling
you.
me that he can jump in and out of people like a goddamn crab or something?" What is that? A crab jumps in and out of people? I'm telling you, I rewound it 3 times.
I don't even
And
know.
that's what he said. He can jump in and
Yeah.
out of people like a goddamn crab or something.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
clue why he would say a crab.
Oh,
But-
I will say they tried to give a little bit of heart with the Ted Raimi character and the coach, and I feel like there was something that they're going for there, and I wanted to be on board. His teams, everything, and they're there to help him and whatnot. But it just is so. I would like that Jonathan's even like. I guess they had to have an explanation. That they go down the route that Jonathan's a copycat killer when they find Ted Raimi and Coach dead, and there's no other explanation except for him to be there. But I don't know, man. This is on another level, and if this was a hit, there would have been a 2 and 3. It would have been interesting to see where they would have gone with this fucking thing. It's just it's so crazy, and Mitch is okay as Horace Pinker. A little overacting, but I mean, again, the killer jumpsuit, the orange kind of jumpsuit, it kind of works. Like I'm trying to find some positives here. There's some sort of things that kind of work, and everybody's kind of passable as an actor. There's nobody that's like other than Horace Pinker being a little hammed up. But I mean, again, he's only doing what Craven wants. Turn that notch to 11. Everything in this movie seems like it's turned to 11, but that deep dive to find that little necklace is just dumb. And then she floats out to scare him. It's like, you're making her scary, and then she's the hero. And there's no consistency. And I don't know. The bloodied room, I liked that. I liked the bloodied room.
That whole scene with the girl dying was shocking. I was like, wow. That was cool. I didn't expect this to happen. So that happened. I was like, okay, they got balls. That's cool. So I was on board. There were some positives. I don't understand the like when the ghost girl comes out and now all of a sudden that's what I wrote down. It's like a foreign movie because I could see an Italian movie like this or a Japanese movie where out of nowhere someone who died is a ghost that's going to help you and they just accept it. And it's the same. And when he turns into that chair and does that thing like that, looks like the Pee Wee Herman chair.
Horrible.
He starts doing his thing.
That's your Nightmare 5
Right.
and 6
That's just what I'm saying.
That Barker
That's what it
Lounger
felt like.
coming to life and attacking him that's a Cravenism. That's what if I'm not ever explained this goes bonkers. Oh, this is gonna be great. No, this is fucking ridiculous. What are you doing? Why are you doing this?
I don't know what I don't, and how stupid it was when he was trying to plug his freaking, he was trying to reach that one plug and he was saying, I think I can. How fucking cheesy. Why Horace Pinker's going to say that, this badass guy? It just, again, see, he was doing Freddy lines. He was doing, this is what Nightmare on Elm Street sequels did to freaking horror at large. And Wes Craven, of all people, just went into all those tropes that they did in those Nightmare sequels that supposedly he doesn't like that they made. And all of a sudden, I'm just going to do silly stuff and throw shit up against the wall. And none of it's going to stick. And that's it. But again, if this was a foreign movie from the 70s, people would be a Japanese movie or an Italian movie. They would excuse all this stuff. They would say, "Oh, ghost walking, and that's fine. It's an Asian. It's a foreign movie. That's what they do."
But it's presentation. I could buy some of this if they didn't like I say. You take out some of the the forced dialogue and the whether it be the news reporters or something that what character says here or the trying to do something. Like I said, Mom, give me 1 fucking second here. This is a premonition dream, and then suddenly the family's dead and whatever. And he sees that other girl, and she's like, "How are you gonna help us?" Like, fuck, what do you want from me? I'm here. It was just, if you take some of those things and just dial it back a bit and not have that. What did the Current say when he comes out of the TV and says, "You got it, baby," or something?
Yeah. I wrote it down. Hold on. Was it "You got it, baby"?
You take that all out,
baby. Yeah.
You just take
How about
him out
that woman?
Have him like a prick, and he goes to the electric chair, realizing like they were wedging this electrical current shit in, and like they did the TV, like, just you could trim all that stuff out. So where I'm going with it is, I could buy it. I've bought worse. Like Trick or Treat, he pulls someone out of a fucking TV set. You know, it's how you present it overall, and this is just presented so maybe, like, are you supposed to be on board because it's presented batshit crazy? I guess it depends on the viewer.
They should have explained. There should have been more background as to why he was into this electric current thing, just like they explain real easily in Child's Play. He hooked up with the voodoo guy, learned how to do a freaking curse, a spell, whatever, and it's accepted. This is why Chucky's alive, because he transferred, and that carries a whole franchise. If you could slowed it down, gave a little bit of an explanation for why this Horace Pinker has this background, and spent less time on bullshit and explained that better, it could have been more easily digestible. The worst part, though, for comedy and inappropriate time, which I can't stand more than regular comedy in a horror, that woman. Who?
Oh, I thought you were going to say finger licking good, when he bites the fingers off bites the lip that dangles down on that one guy, and then bites the fingers off the other one. Finger licking good.
Right. Well, that's a Freddy thing. That's him. But I'm talking about a person who's in peril. When they go in that one house and they come out and there's that heavyset woman on the couch and she's complaining. I heard of audience participation, but this is ridiculous. Are you fucking kidding me? That's where you're going?
Oh my God. You're and there, I know he's trying to make a statement. He's shitting on his own fucking audience, or maybe not the audience, but he's shitting on middle America. Like, they look like they're right out of the 70s, and this everything's dated and looks like. And then eat my own fried bread. I'm like going back to the Natural Born Killers, or want more. Go eat. What does he say? Like,
that's right, Coach. Go eat some more fried bread. Yeah, he's insulting the cops.
There's some sort of commentary going on there, but it falls so flat because of that ill-timed joke and just the craziness that came before and follows that sequence. Just there's no weight, and it's again, this is a movie that I actually did really enjoy when I was younger. Like I
never
liked
did.
Shocker. I actually liked
Wow.
it, and it's just like it fell right off a cliff, and this fell off a cliff like years ago. But I was hoping that they would be able to restore it because it was always one of those ones that I've talked about on the show before that I've always wanted to see an uncut version of. I heard they didn't have to cut; they had to cut some stuff, but I heard it wasn't as drastic as some other movies, like when the coach stabs his hand and a few other things. But just it was always one that I wanted to see a full version of. Now, I could care less. Would I see it if it came out? Yeah, I'd watch the footage, but that's about it. But it's not much different. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, this is a fucking stinker. I mean, in my opinion, should have been called
I'm with
Stinker.
you.
I mean, this is my joke. I said we got Horace Pinker, but both films are in the stinker tonight, and that's the shocker. And honestly, I was actually at a 3 out of 10, but I feel like this is even. I'll go 2.5 out of 10.
Oh, wow. Well, I'll give it a 4. So what are you going to do? It's ridiculous. It's bad. Although I will say when Jason Goes to Hell came and I saw the body jumping, I said, I compared it to this. I go, they got that idea from Shocker. Other people say The Hidden, but I hadn't seen The Hidden. But to me, this is what they're doing here. It was a killer. I don't understand why he had to keep jumping bodies. They didn't explain that. At least in Jason Goes to Hell,
it's like
explain it.
It's like they didn't really explain it. You're right, but I believe maybe this is what I got out of it was that he's just electricity. He's just a current, but there's no host. There's so that it has to be in something. So that's where it goes. But then the bodies end up if they get injured or whatever. Why does everybody get a fucking limp? That's the other stupid thing. Fuck that girl dragging her foot. The dad, the dad's like, I'll take care of him, and he looks at him, and then he's got the limp. I'm like, you fucking come on. It
was too strong of a card to play. They didn't need to have the limp. It was supposed to let the audience know who it was, but we should be able to figure it out without having a limp.
Like, again, he thinks everybody is that family that Horace Pinker jumps into the household in through the TV. I heard about audience participation. You nailed it, man. Fucking possibly the worst scene in the movie.
Oh, awful.
Well, no, who could try? That's like saying it's like, comparing this piece of cow shit to this piece of horse shit because that scene with the electrical current in the jail cell is most definitely the worst scene of the movie.
Terrible. Because it reminds me of, and I don't like it, but when they do it in Freddy's Dead, when they come out and they talk to him. Didn't they say something like similar to that? And he goes, I want it all. And they say something back to him, all right, baby, or something. And they go in them. It's like, I'm telling you, it's so weird that Wes Craven made a Bad Nightmare on Elm Street sequel called Shocker. Because that's what it's like. It feels just like those movies to me. I'm like, what the hell? So.
Yeah. But those are, funny enough, I don't rate, other than Freddy's Dead, none of them rate as low as these two movies today. I mean, even The Dream Child, which I go back and forth with. I know it's not great, but at least I respect what I think it was Stephen Hopkins, I think that's who directed it, was trying to do, and he was trying to do a little bit more in-camera dream stuff instead of having just total effects work constantly. But still, I'm not saying it's a good movie, but I can appreciate The Dream Child every now and then. But anyway, getting off topic, but yeah, I hope I didn't come. I'm glad to see that this one you actually had a similar reaction to than I did, and I'm not the only one. And I know there's fans out there, and some people are like, guys, can't you just have fucking fun? Yeah, I think I can. I think I can have fun. I've had fun with lots of movies, and there's dumb movies that I love. And I'll point the direction to Maximum Overdrive as one of them. Again, I know it's a bad movie, but I like watching it. It's
That's fair. I
this one,
I don't like it.
But I don't even know, the joy doesn't even come out of me. Like when I watch it, it's not joy that I'm experiencing.
No, man. No, I just can't get over certain things. It's stupid. There's no need to do it. It's easy to make a good story, just especially if you're Wes Craven, you would think. And something's coming out to the theater, and horror's still hot. I don't know. It's just very strange choices.
I will
See
watch
here.
Your Soul to Take again for Slasher and make a definitive announcement on that. But I remember liking it the first time I saw it because I hadn't
Me
seen it in the
too.
theater, and I bought it and liked it. And then I rewatched it and I was like, "What the fuck was I thinking?" And so
Hmm.
now this would be the change. But you have Hills of Eyes Part Two, you have Deadly Friend for Me, and you've got Shocker right now with the possibility of My Soul to Take. I mean, those are four
Yeah,
like
turds.
in my eyes. So we'll see.
Yeah, right on. I hear you. Now, I think other movies would have scored higher if we would have done Cursed, for you especially, done Cursed and done the other one, Vampire in Brooklyn. They probably would have scored higher for you. But to me, they were just, the ideas were not boring, but these movies I think would at least have fun with them.
Well, when you
But
said we didn't do them, and I was like, "Oh, we didn't? Oh, okay." I was like, "Let's do them." Like we got to
yeah,
talk about those two. Whereas, like I'm
yeah,
like Kirsten and Vampire in Brooklyn would be like a total set. Okay, now we can do them because we've done the rest, and we'll finish his filmography. But I thought we had
right,
done these, so then as soon as you mentioned that, I'm like, "No, we're switching them because that's what we've got to cover for sure."
correct. Well, I guess we got to pick for the next one, right?
Oh yeah, get your randomizer
I
out.
got it.
Randomizer. Oh, you did
Random
already.
anonymizer. Yeah, between 1 and 30, right? That's what it was. Okay, so
One
hold
and
up. Yeah,
30.
last time it was 24. Do you have the list in front of you?
I had the list in front of me, but I
All
switched
you do,
gears.
okay, let's say go to our
The
message and
fuck
then
did I
just
do
type
now?
in one of the titles and it'll come up. You know what I'm saying? You could search in the message. That's what
Yeah,
you do.
that's what I did the last one. You're right. Bear with
Yeah,
me.
yeah. Take your time.
Here we
I'm going
go.
to
Right.
generate it now. 3, the
That's
magic
one of yours
number.
then. I don't have that on
Ah,
my list then. You have to look at your list.
okay. Well, they're both together. Hold on. I'm just going to go to our messages and I'm going to type in Vampire in Brooklyn and it'll show up somewhere. Watch. Okay. This is how you do things, by the way, listeners. If you want to search something in a message, you go to your Facebook Messenger, you tap that thing on top, and then you go search in conversation. And then you can find up things that were brought up years ago if you need to. So I'm going to type in Brooklyn because that word's going to come up only once, I'm sure. Brooklyn. There you go. See, one incident. So, okay.
Number 3. What is it?
Dario Argento. Okay, hold on. Oh, shit. Hold on. Oh, where did it go? Oh, okay, hold
That's
on. This
me.
is it.
Dario Argento, Cat and Four Flies. That was number
That's you?
16. That was me.
Oh, that was you. We got to put them all together. Oh, yeah. I'm first, you're second.
Yeah.
Okay. So okay. Here's my number 3. Oh, you got to be kidding me. Is this really? Number 1 was Stephen King. Number 2 was found footage. Number 3, of all things, slashers. Let's do
Just
some
generic.
homework for.
Just
That's all I
generic
wrote.
stuff?
Slashers. Yeah, just so we legitimately when I wrote my list, it was I was gonna pick one and you were gonna pick one on certain ones. So when I came to the word slasher, I was just gonna say, let's pick a slasher we want to watch. You pick a slasher, I pick a slasher.
Oh,
A movie
fuck
that we
him.
feel
Yeah.
like reviewing. Now,
Well, it's yeah.
who knows? What do we want to watch? You know, we got this big
Oh,
old list of movies we have to watch.
well, maybe
That's
we could
pretty
put a
funny.
poll out there then. We'll put like you choose 2, I'll choose 2 or something like that. And then we'll get it down to 2 movies.
Any slasher
Well,
or any
you
slasher
will
eligible.
pick. No, we'll pick. We'll pick 2 that I want to, 2 that I'm thinking about. You pick 2 that you're thinking about.
Okay.
And
So they're
then
going to
it
be off
doesn't
my
they don't
list,
even have to be
obviously.
related. Or you could pick all 4. I'm okay with it since it's your list.
Oh,
But
I don't
then
care. I
and
think it's
then
fun this way.
okay, and then we'll let the
See what you pick.
viewers and listeners pick and we'll oh my god. Wind it down to 2. My lord. Shocker got me all fucked up.
So we decided Ice Cream Man's not a slasher, right?
We didn't really because I don't remember. I don't recall. We left it
Shit.
kind of in limbo.
Were you going to watch it?
I will watch it. I'll watch it to check it out. So,
Well,
but we've
maybe
got it.
that's
We
one
could
we
put it
should
as an
watch.
option. We could put it as an option, but they still have to decide if that's going to be one of the ones that gets picked.
Okay. Yeah, we'll put some on there and we'll see. Okay. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Perfect.
That'll be fun.
So
So
there will
that's
be a poll coming very soon.
Year of the Slasher is starting a little bit earlier, but we got to prep for it. Actually, it's Year of the Slasher, but the show is going to be, if we don't miss any shows, it'll be next August. So we'll see exactly how that pans out going by counting shows. So obviously it officially begins in January. This year is the year of the, what do you call it? The year of the, what is this shit we're doing called? I used to have a title for it.
I don't even know. It's not even year of the year. It's just year of the
No,
list.
it's not year of the year. It's year of the roulette wheel.
Yeah.
It's year
Russian
year
roulette.
of the spin the wheel. It's the spin the wheel year, you know. So,
But it's
we
good
never
though. We
gave it
get
an
to
official.
we're at least sticking to our guns there. Yeah, I listed mine. Like mine were like, Fulci, Don't Torture a Duckling, A Cat in the Brain, Peter Jackson,
Mhm.
Bad Taste of Dead Alive, Raimi,
Right.
Drag Me to Hell, The Gift. Because I couldn't remember if we did Drag Me to Hell or not. I feel like we did, so that might have to shuffle. The Carpenter, The Ward, and Ghost of Mars, because we were filling in gaps, right? It's, not all the time. Sometimes I know it makes more sense to do a show of movies you want to do, but we're also trying to fill gaps of directors' filmographies that we hadn't finished. So, what do you
Oh, shit.
on?
Why did I put so many movies? Why did I have so many? Did you have how many? Oh, 15 ideas each.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
then, yeah.
Okay. So here was mine. Stephen King, found footage. See, my idea was more loose stuff. It was like this was the
Yeah.
topic. You were going to pick one. I was going to pick one. I was just keeping it fast and loose. But Stephen King, found footage, slashers, blind spots, werewolves, vampires, 80s poll losers that almost made it. We were talking about the polls that we were doing before.
Yeah.
To decide our 80s movies when we went on that 80s run, because we had a couple that just lost by a vote or two. Guilty pleasures, movies that just missed our top 100, second chances, giving a movie a second chance for each of us, true events, movies based on true events, hidden gems, gialli, movies I don't like that everyone else does, or movies I do like that nobody else does. That's 14 and 15. So
Cool.
we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Well, we still got a few. We're finishing off this year with that list, so it's cool. But we can get
as
some
much as we
slashers in there.
can. Well, I don't think we're going to finish the year because look at it right now.
Oh no! What I meant, we just meant this year
Right.
we'll be able to finish this season with still doing these ideas. It's just we're not going to get all the ideas done, is what I meant.
No, we're not. No,
Yeah.
because
But we're going to continue to
Once-
do this until we do the year end, and with the exception of some BS shows.
or we want to talk about a new movie like the new Saw or the new Exorcist or something else that might come
Absolutely.
out. You know what I mean? Then everything else takes a back seat. So Exorcist got to move up. It's October 6th now.
Yeah, because
they're
it didn't
afraid
want
to
to
fight with
compete.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
apparently.
Taylor Swift concert.
I'm
movie.
glad. I want to see the Exorcist movie as soon as possible.
You know
Do I
what
think it's going to be good? I don't know, but
I had
wanna
no
see
interest to go to Taylor Swift. But to be honest, if you're going to pay top dollar to go into a theater or an auditorium to fight all the traffic, to fight all the people there, to watch her on the Jumbotron, then why the hell are you not going to go to a movie theater then? Why not? Sit in a comfortable seat and see it on they're live streaming it to the theater. That's what they're doing.
it's a concert? Oh, it's like a Fathom event. It's only a one-day thing then?
Well, I don't think it's a one-day thing. I think because she has multiple tours, I think they're doing it over the course of, maybe it is 1 week. I don't know, but that's what they're doing. It's you're watching her concert, but instead of going to the concert because their tickets are A, astronomically priced, B, sold out, C, you have to fight the traffic to sit in the nosebleeds to watch the Jumbotron anyway.
Right.
Just go to a local theater, pay less, and enjoy it on the screen.
So in other words, she's doing what Fish has been doing for years, except she's making people go to the theaters for it, and Fish, you can do it right in the comfort of your own home. I can watch any Fish concert live anytime I want.
Yeah, I mean,
It's true.
she's not the first to do it. I think there's been other performances that were done like this too. But it's
Fathom events, one night things. I've seen them. Matter of fact, I saw Fish do one before. There was a Fathom event because it was when they were going to break up the first time officially, but they came back, thank goodness. But there was that, and there was, what else did I see? I saw another concert that was a Fathom event, but it was just a one-day thing.
So I don't know. Again, I haven't really dug into and didn't research this at all. I'm assuming it's live every time they do it, and you're picking whatever show. I believe you're definitely not watching pre-recorded, but I mean that's That's what I thought. But anyway, I don't have any interest to see it, so I'm not losing sleep over it. But if it pushed a horror movie ahead, so be it. So we've got Saw that moved ahead to not compete against what was it competing against? Five Nights or and now The Exorcist has moved ahead.
Wow, we got some movies coming out in September and October. Something's got to save this year because right now, like I said earlier, there's no way we can do 23 movies. I don't think. We'll talk about it another time, but you know, the way it's looking now, I don't know. So
well, hopefully, right. Because Brandon was talking about being on that show. So if we could get Brandon and Watson, of course, who's always welcome back on, that would be great to end the year with that. So hopefully, because it's a list show and the year-end show, he'll join us. But hopefully he'll be on before then. But anyway, that's the one that we would like him on for sure.
Absolutely. Cool, man. All right. Well,
yeah.
I guess
that's it for me.
Here. Yeah, we got to go. All right. Thank you, everybody. We love you. Thanks for everything you're doing. And like I said, please reach out if you need anything at all. At any time, we're here. So we'll see you again. We'll see you next show. And Manchichi, you got anything, C?
Oh, peace out, everybody.
That's it. Peace out. Be good to each other. Be good to each other. Isn't that what someone used to say? Well, I'll say that anyway. Do what makes you happy and be good to each other. Much love. There you go. See ya.